Hello guys, this is Dark Fox Sage 2 and we are back with our new fanfic, which is what if Sasuke brought Naruto with him to Orochimaru after he fainted in First Valley Battle Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfiction. These arms. Damn it. Completely devoid of feeling, I stared at the useless logs in the mirror. The light above me flickered dimly, coming up with an idea like the Reaper death seal. Of course, only Hiruzen would. I cocked my head as I eyed the forbidden jutsu scroll on the medical table next to me. A demon with a purple face and a knife in its mouth was drawn above extensive directions explaining how to enact the reverse jutsu to the Reaper death seal. Then again, I should thank him for reminding me of that seal. Now, I can begin studying it. And if everything goes as planned, I should have my arms back in no time. The door swung open. I turned to see Kabuto entering my private lab. He glanced down at the medical table, eyes zeroing in on an axe that just so happened to lay next to the scroll, and he smirked. Already giving up on immortality, I see, he said before plopping down in the chair adjacent to me. I was reading the scroll, I said, narrowing my eyes as he leaned back in the chair and kicked his sandals up on desk, scattering my papers. Hey, it's fine, Lord Orochimaru. Whatever you think about in your spare time is cool with me, he said, angling his head back to toss some chips into his mouth. Just make sure you write me into your will first. You've gotten extremely comfortable around me lately, I noted. He continued eating the chips, opting to say nothing. And this one clearly believes that because of my minor setback, he's free to do whatever he wants. He pushed his glasses further up on his nose. But he isn't wrong. I could still kill him any time I wanted to, but that would harm me more than help me. Oh, I almost forgot the reason I even came in here, he said, tossing the empty chip wrapper to the floor. The girl sensed Sasuke on the way. I raised my eyebrows. He came even without the sound for an Kimimaro, I stated. As I expected. The girl sensed something else, too. He added. Something else. Something like what? Explain. I told him. Kabuto snapped his fingers. Hey, Karen, get in here. A quiet, slightly depressed looking girl pushed the door open slowly and walked into the laboratory. Her long red hair was dirty and messy, flowing around her shoulders and doing nothing except to make the rags she wore as clothes look more appalling. Tell him, Kabuto said. She avoided looking me in the eyes. None of them were brave enough to do that. Instead, she looked at my feet and spoke quietly. The boy, the one from the Chunin exams. Kabuto, weren't there many boys in the Chunin exams? Or, am I mistaken? I asked him. Kabuto shrugged. You know, now that I think about it, it probably was only girls in that exam. No one there had any balls anyway. I snickered. Karen began again. The boy, with a blue shirt. She specified. You call him Sasuke-kun. Oh, that boy. Right. I said, smirking. Go on. He's approaching, she revealed. In company with a secondary chakra. What secondary chakra? A strange one, she said. It feels weird. Like it has two sides. Two sides? That description would probably best fit a Jinchuriki. Kabuto gave me a knowing look as Karen, finally, raised her head and looked up at me. But Sasuke's chakra feels double-sided that way, too, now. Great observation, Karen. So, now, there's 4 chakras approaching. It must be the end of the world. Kabuto joked. Karen, leave immediately and direct Sasuke to this hideout, I ordered. Interest filled her eyes. Interest I'd never seen on her before. She nodded and left quickly. You think she's actually going to come back? Kabuto said. I smirked at him. As if she has anywhere else to go. I told him. That's the key to this entire setup, Kabuto. It's loneliness. All of these ones, every single one of them, have no one waiting for them to return anywhere except here. That is why they always find their way here. Like Sasuke? He asked me. I frowned. Sasuke has someone to return to. And it seems he's brought that person with him. So, you think it's Naruto, too, huh? Who else would it be? Kabuto laughed. Didn't you say something like, Naruto is the one person Sasuke can't be allowed to stay around? He reminded me. How ironic. I said, turning. But I am curious. What provoked Sasuke to carry him all the way here? I can think of one good reason. Kabuto said, sneering. Though, I initially didn't think Sasuke was into that sort of thing. I eased myself back into my chair. How indecent of a joke. I replied as Kabuto snickered. Well, he better not be expecting us to heal him. We're not running a medical wing. He said. Then he seemed to ponder something. Though, with the amount of people we're taking on these days, we could be considered an orphanage. I smiled. And Hiruzen-sensei told me I'd never become a philanthropist. I remarked. I've fed and clothed more children than all the 5 nations put together. Yeah, after you tortured them. I looked at Kabuto, who immediately, most likely sensing my animosity at his word choice, jumped back into line. He threw his hands up. Sorry, Lord Orochimaru, I was just making an observation. The door swung open then, loudly and quite rudely as a boy, drenched from the rain, walked into the room with another boy, equally as drenched, hanging on his back. Like I expected. Sasuke, you've brought Naruto to me. Naruto's head lolled on Sasuke's shoulder and his body was completely limp. He was knocked clean out. Must have been some fight, huh? Kabuto asked, looking at the holes in Naruto's jacket and the gashes and bruises on his face and arms. Sasuke completely ignored him. His eyes were solely on mine. What did you do to him? He asked me. Before I could even question his question, he began speaking again. His hand, Sasuke said, motioning toward it. It has a curse seal on it. I thought you were only after me. Why did you drag him into it, too? Curse seal. That piqued my interest more than anything else that day. Kabuto, clear the table. He lifted the scroll and the axe and the other miscellaneous things I had gathered atop of it and placed them on bookshelves or chairs. Sasuke leaned toward the table, laying Naruto down and positioning him for me. I walked over and as I did, Kabuto, quite literally becoming my second pair of hands, grabbed Naruto's hand and turned it over for me. On his palm, was a curse seal in black ink. But the symbol was strange. It wasn't a symbol I'd ever seen or created before. I turned to Sasuke and as I did, just as quickly, Kabuto grabbed Sasuke's shoulder and pulled his neck at an angle showing me his mark. This symbol has also changed. Reverse the seal. Quickly. I told Kabuto. He nodded and pushed his glasses up, becoming solidly serious and meticulous just like the medical genius he was. He did the hand signs and, with electric pulses bursting from his fingertips, he pressed upon Naruto's palm, causing his arm to jump. The seal still remained. Kabuto did the signs again, created the static and did it again but to no success. Why is this seal so stubborn? If it's just an accidental doppelganger sprung off from Sasuke's mark, we should be able to remove it. Kabuto continued. You never explained why he has a seal. And what are you doing to him? Sasuke asked as he stared from the other side of the table. What's happening? I opened my mouth, thinking I was going to answer. He stopped speaking, only to be caught off guard by a flood of snakes that spurt from deep in my body, ran through my mouth, and wrapped around his torso. He grimaced, writhing futilely against the wet, wild reptiles. The snakes wrapped around his body again and again, keeping him firmly coiled, contained and quiet, seeing as how they also covered his mouth. It's like an 8-trigram seal. A small voice said. I turned, looking at Karen who no one had noticed returned with Naruto and Sasuke. Or, no, it's even stronger than that, she said as she looked on. Well, she's an Uzumaki. Of course she'd be familiar with seals. I turned to the unconscious blonde-haired boy on the table, watching him closely. But then, does that mean that this child, If you know how to reverse it, then come here. Kabuto told her. She shook her head. You need a key, she said. For seals like the 8 trigram and stronger, you need a key to unlock it. It irritated me that, even for a split second, she thought she was teaching me something. I was completely aware of that. Though, I wouldn't have classified the seal as an 8 trigram one. The one on his stomach. The one I disturbed before was an 8 trigram. But this one, it looks exactly like a curse mark style but the symbol in the middle looked like a swirl of miniature dots, or a ball of moving wind. And the 3-dot mark on Sasuke's neck had come together to look more like some kind of flame ball. Perhaps it's the amount of chakra within the seal that is making Karen classify it as that. But if the seal was even stronger than an 8 trigram. But as Kabuto continued trying to reverse the seal, using a rather painful series of muscle and skin shearing, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. Sasuke jerked where the snakes were keeping him tied up. Initially I hadn't been paying much attention to his movements, until MMMMFFHH. He tried to say. Is he reacting to this boy's injuries? I snapped my fingers. Kabuto, enough. I said. Kabuto stopped. With the amount of times he had tried to electrically revert the mark, the boy's hand and wrist were both almost singed but the mark still remained. Use the scalpel and cut it off. I ordered. He smirked. And I thought I was being careless. He remarked. Do as I say. My eyes narrowed on Sasuke where the snakes were beginning to wrap around his eyes. Now I can make sure Sasuke-kun doesn't just have an abnormal amount of empathy. If he can't see him, he can't feel for him. Kabuto's waited a couple of seconds and then, on my command, his hand swiped across Naruto's, stabbing into the back of his hand. A single tear slipped from underneath his closed eyelid just as Sasuke's hand balled into a fist, fingers flexing and unflexing. I haven't seen you smile that widely since we got Kimimaro. Kabuto mumbled. Prepare the laboratory connected to the south cell chamber, Kabuto. I said. And take Sasuke and Karen there. Karen, too? He asked. Do as I say. I repeated, having one of my snakes hiss at him appropriately. You don't have to get all edgy. He said, raising his hands. He grabbed Karen's arm, and motioned to the snakes which were still coiled around Sasuke and left the room. I stared at the boy lying on the table. It must have been then. Back then. I could visualize it in my head, the moment that I launched for Sasuke and that weak girl standing next to him and inserted my fangs into his neck, implanting the seed. But little did I know this idiotic boy hadn't been caught up long enough by the snake I'd sent to swallow him. I didn't know how he'd gotten out of it so quickly, but he was there, pushing me to the side and pulling Sasuke from my grasp. The curse mark is a very time-conscious jutsu. Even though I'd implanted the curse, because of the idiot, I wasn't able to properly seal it. If it isn't sealed properly for a long time, it will fade, reducing to nothing, in which case, I could have easily implanted the seed in Sasuke again and sealed it properly. On the contrary, if the curse is sealed but sealed by someone else, that person is then able to insert whatever will they want into the jutsu. The will I had given Sasuke, the will of ambition, and avarice and pride most likely slowly began to be overshadowed by the new will. If I don't act quickly, Sasuke will be out of my control. I stared down at the blonde-haired boy. And the worst part is, I can't even just do away with this ridiculously idiotic setback. Sasuke and Karen are locked in their new rooms. Kabuto reported as he pushed the door open. He came to my side and we both looked down at Naruto. Should I kill him? He asked, raising a knife in the form of chakra. The jutsu will disappear if we do that. I considered it momentarily but no. I told him, we have no idea how strong the seal was that Naruto put into Sasuke. We don't even know what will he put into it. In the worst case scenario, if we kill Naruto, Sasuke may snap and go into shock or rage or even commit suicide. There are endless possibilities. And we can't play around with this one because you don't have enough time to kill them both and go search for a better body host. Kabuto added. Precisely. I replied. Or better yet, I doubt that there is a better body host for me than Sasuke. This is just a small unexpected predicament. I will have him. And I refuse to stop until I do. You told Karen to spy on him, I presume? I asked. I don't even have to tell her. He said. Next to Kimimaro and I, Karen is the most trustworthy of your children, isn't she? Good. I have to check to see if Sasuke's still under my control. I told him. And if he is, I must force him to separate himself from Naruto permanently. How are we going to do that? I looked down at the unconscious boy on the table. These two are like oil and water. If what I'm thinking is correct, we won't have to do a thing. But until then, we're going to keep trying to remove the mark, right? Precisely. I responded. Come, let's move him to the laboratory connected to the south chamber. Sasuke. I could hear the screaming in my head all day. Ah, it was constant. NGHH. Gura. I could sense pain, confusion, fear, ugha, and something else. A sense of longing. Longing for something or someone. But there wasn't anything I could do about it. Even if I wanted to, which I didn't. It's all Itachi's fault. All of it. If he hadn't done what he did, I wouldn't need this power so desperately. And Naruto wouldn't be in the situation he's in either. I'd been stuck up in that room for days. The girl I was stuck with marked the days. Some kind of weird nervous tic. How can you even tell when the sun rises or sets from here? I finally asked her, simply to stop myself from going mad. She stared at me for a second, expression easing into an expansion of dumbfoundedness. I don't really know. I guess I can just feel it. She responded. And that was the day I realized they locked me up with a crazy person. Literally locked me up, too, because there was no knob on our side of the iron wrought door. There was a single candle in the room. And old, cold brown and green stone brick walls. The ground was a mixture of concrete and mud. The only things that didn't look completely depressing were the beds. And even they struggled hard to make you feel the hopelessness. Two were connected by chain, and as I picked the one closest to the candle, she decided to pick the one connected to mine. And that was where we remained for the majority of our time there. I watched the girl mark day 5 even though it felt to me like a month had passed. My absence of time was most likely also encouraged by the fact that I didn't sleep much. I had tried to sleep the first couple of minutes I got in there, but I woke up sweating from some nightmare I couldn't even remember. After that, even thinking about sleep bothered me. I decided it must be the surroundings. Forced to live in a dungeon cage with your only company a girl who did nothing but mark the walls and stare at you. Interestingly enough though, she seemed to sleep just fine. The heavy, solid iron door groaned and creaked up loudly. Both of us sat up expectantly. The candle flickered with the whoosh of wind and fizzed out. A shadow stood in the doorway, illuminated into a soft silhouette by the dim lanterns in the hallway. Are you ready to train? Asked the voice. Just from the drawl of the tone, I knew it was Orochimaru. I was slightly surprised that he hadn't just sent that lying idiot with the glasses. I've been ready to train, you asshole. But you've been bent on keeping me in here for days. Where's Naruto? I decided to ask him. Naruto, Naruto, Naruto. He sighed. Lengthen your vocabulary. Where is he? I persisted. Who knows? Orochimaru asked, shrugging exaggeratedly. For all you know, he might already have died. I stared at him. Moments passed. The girl rustled in the sheets near me. He began to chuckle sourly. Don't fret, Sasuke-kun. Your beloved Naruto is in the training courtyard, safe and sound. Yeah, right. How could he be safe or sound? Screaming all day and night like that. You think I'm lying? Orochimaru asked. I looked at him head on and said nothing. Strangely, he gave me a curious look, but it was only for a moment and then he turned around. Come. You as well, Karen. Where? I asked. He grabbed the doorknob, not saying anything, and with the door open, I didn't have much choice but to follow him. Past the rows and rows of doors just like mine with iron doors and bars on the only windows. Some of the doors had small hands on them, fingers curled around the bars, others were silent, like whatever life inside had died a long time ago. The only light in the hall flickered, occasionally buzzing out. What kind of hell did I sign up for? Karen barely seemed to notice at all. She walked through the hall staring straight ahead like she didn't have a care in the world. I wonder how long you have to be here to become as empty as she probably is. As far as I was concerned, she and all the rest of them were probably born in these dungeons and would die there, too. Serving him. But not me. He may think I want to become a part of this ridiculous sob story, but he's got the wrong one. I looked up as he strode ahead of me. But I still can't figure it out. What is this guy planning? Is he after Naruto? Is that why he implanted that mark? And when did he even get the time to do it? Was it at the Chunin exams like mine or later? Why did it take so long to show up? We continued walking through the damp, dank passageways, past more and more dark and dusty rooms. Because of my lack of freedom, I wasn't at all familiar with the place. But I didn't have time to feel apprehensive about that. I was getting a really strange feeling about something else. Like every step I took led me closer and closer to something. Something positive. When I closed my eyes, I imagined my home, before my brother destroyed it. Something peaceful. In any case, I was sensibly surprised as we jumped up through a narrow hole in the ceiling and landed outside. Outside. It's been a long time. Chirping birds blessed my ears, flowing wind kissed my skin, and smells like flowers and fresh water soothed my nostrils. I must have been sensing that we were nearing outside. Sasuke. I turned, sunlight flooding my vision as a brightly colored-haired and dressed boy writhed in Kabuto's arms. If you keep going on like this, I'm going to have to detach the tendons in your legs. Remember how that felt? Kabuto threatened. Let me near Sasuke. Naruto shouted, clearly not listening at all. Orochimaru ignored him, turning toward me. Sasuke, what did you hope to gain from coming here? I didn't even hesitate before I responded. Power. Naruto continued struggling, my eyes drifted toward his. You brought Naruto here under the assumption that I chose him in addition to you and gave him a curse mark. He went on. But that is incorrect. What? That mark he has. That clone curse mark of yours isn't my doing. He smiled, in an unhinged sort of way. We've been trying to remove it for 3 days straight and haven't made any sort of progression. My eyes lowered to Naruto's hand, where the skin was a raw red. But I can't train you with this complication. Orochimaru told me. It posses all sorts of threats that are incredibly inconceivable at the moment. That caught my attention more than anything. So I'm going to be stuck in a dungeon indefinitely? I retorted. His eyes shined, feeding off my outburst. Perhaps not, he said. Naruto is the only person standing in your way. What do you think you should do? Standing in my way. I turned, looking directly into Naruto's eyes. My gaze made him struggle harder. I can't let anyone stand in my way. I want to be next to Sasuke. Naruto shouted again. Kabuto, let him go. Orochimaru ordered. Kabuto shrugged, letting Naruto go, who immediately sprinted over to me. I raised my eyebrows, feeling the sun beating on my back, roasting my desperately pale skin, and took in his ragged appearance. His clothes were torn and dirty, and his cheeks were slightly drawn like they hadn't been feeding him well. There, in the warm atmosphere surrounding us, I slightly felt for him. You stupid idiot, getting mixed into all of this. He outstretched his hands, running for me like there was no other place he'd rather be. Dobi, I began. He cocked his fist back, plunging it into the side of my face as hard as he could, and off guard, I stumbled back a few steps, almost tripping. What the hell? I exclaimed, hand shooting up to my face. That's for trying to leave the village, you bastard. He shouted at me. Now you've gone and gotten us both kidnapped and held hostage by this snake weirdo. Orochimaru raised his eyebrows, seemingly amused by Naruto's declaration. I gritted my teeth. Maybe if you weren't a weak, worthless Uzuratonkachi, You could have stopped me and neither of us would be in this situation. I retorted. How is it my fault? He spouted. Then he frowned, pointing at me. You tried to kill me and then you said it's because you're my best friend. What kind of shit is that? Well, why don't we settle it right now, then so I kick your ass back to that Konoha where you belong. More like I'll kick your ass back to Konoha. Naruto shouted. Then we can stop all this and go see Sakura-chan and Ramen-chan again. You're on. I dug in the deepest recesses for my chakra. As soon as I discovered that I could transform into another being when I used my curse mark power, I was heavily interested in how to keep it up. I hadn't been just sitting around while I was stuck in that cage with that girl. Even if I hadn't enacted it again, I knew I could do it again. I had to. I wouldn't lose to him. Naruto dashed toward me, Rasengan in hand, and seemingly using a bit of that weird red chakra he had. I braced myself, tapping into the power, and releasing it. I could feel it engulfing me, filling me, consuming me, but only momentarily. Then fire came, shooting down my body in a light strip, and the brownish dark purple skin I'd had with the handed wings and my long hair, stuttered, and began to fade out. No, wait. I struggled to contain my transformation, but it was like grasping water. I was failing quickly, and Naruto continued plunging toward me, facial expression moving from determination to something else. Is that? His mouth opened, it seemed like he was yelling something. Fear. Then, he was next to me, skidding to a stop to avoid hitting me straight on with his Rasengan because I hadn't even done well enough to enact a Chidori, and as I watched the swirling ball of wind near my face, sparks of lighting shot up all around me and the world took on a strange purple hue momentarily as I began to see sparks of blue swirling inside everyone. Their chakra, and my neck felt hot, so I reached for it, but the moment I touched it, the spot my curse mark was, everything vanished, and I fell to my knees. Sasuke, Naruto said, Rasengan fizzing out. Are you okay? He kneeled next to me, grabbing my arm. I'm fine, I said, pushing him off. What just happened to me? Orochimaru-sama, did you see? I saw it. I looked up, watching as Kabuto and Orochimaru stared at us. They both had smirks on, but behind that, there was something else. What did they see? But as the moment passed, Orochimaru began to chuckle. Sasuke, you can have your power. But first, we must get over this hurdle. He told me, then looked over at Naruto. Tell us what you did to tamper with the mark or kill each other with the sole survivor being the successor. My ears perked. You chose him? I asked. I like geniuses. He told me. And with the way things are going, he just may be a prodigy after all. This can't be happening. Until then, all three of you will return to that cell. He banished us. I could hear the iron door slamming shut in my face before we even got back down into the hideout. Naruto. I watched as Sasuke snatched a piece of chalk out of the hands of the girl named Karen and used it to drag a line across the partly muddy ground. This is my side, he said, pointing behind him to his bed. And that's yours. He pointed to the bed I was sitting on, directly across from his. If you step even a toe across this line, I'll massacre you. He threatened. I crossed my arms. You don't scare me, Sasuke. I can do whatever I want. His arm pulsed with electricity, but instead of the usual light blue aura of the Chidori, it seemed to have a purplish tinge. I dare you. We stared each other down. It was silent. Karen leaned over and grabbed the chalk back out of Sasuke's hand and began dragging it across the wall. That distracted me. What are you doing? I asked. What does it look like I'm doing? She replied. I squinted. Making a line. She sighed, moving backwards so I could see the multiple lines she had already made. Making lines. I guessed. I'm marking the days, she stated. Then she looked me up and down, like she was seeing me for the first time, and then turned to Sasuke. Is your girlfriend retarded? He isn't anything to me, Sasuke said, not taking his eyes off me as he pulled himself up onto his bed. I walked near Karen, trying to get a good look at the lines. Why did you put a diagonal one across the others? She continued staring at me weirdly. It's like saying, 5. I put my hands behind my head. Then why didn't you just write 5? She began to write out some characters. It takes longer, see. Is that really 5? Crap. I knew skipping all those writing classes when I was younger would mess me up one day. Karen turned to Sasuke. He can't read. She asked him. He's an idiot. Sasuke replied simply, leaning down on his elbow and picking at the sheets. Hey, take that back, Sasuke. I'm smart enough to know when someone's insulting me. How do you sign your name then? Karen wondered. I blinked at her. I never had to sign my name. What kind of ninja do they create in that crackpot village? She muttered. Sounds like living in such a stupid place is just a waste of time. Sasuke smirked. Konoha isn't a waste of time. I argued. It's just that I'm different. Everyone else knows all that stuff just fine. So then what's wrong with you? Karen asked. Long, lonely nights with nothing except shadows and the wind whistling through my empty apartment to keep me company. No photographs on the wall. No antiques in the hall. No plants. No animals. No voices. Nothing. Nothing except a lot of time clinging to my own shadows. I grinned. Nothing at all. I'm a loyal ninja of that crackpot village you're talking about. So shut your mouth, I told her. Because you're talking to the future Hokage. Hokage? She asked. That's right, I proclaimed. And then everyone in the village will put my face up on the mountain and have to acknowledge me. Sasuke snorted. You wanna fight about it? I asked, turning to him. He rolled over in bed, ignoring me. A leader of a village who can't even write his own name. Karen challenged me. You're dumber than you look. She turned back to the wall. At least know how to do that much before you go around preaching. She began writing the characters out, and as she finished the first one, my eyes locked on it. I think I know what that says. Uzumaki. She froze, slowly turning to eye me with those deep reddish pink eyes she had. What? You just wrote Uzumaki, right? I asked, pointing. How would you know that, illiterate boy? I can't write my name, but I know what it looks like. Uzumaki. I clarified. That's my name. A look of pure astonishment crossed her face, and then it sunk into a sullen confusion at the unfairness of it all. Oh, great. The idiot's my brother, she mumbled, flopping down onto her bed. Brother. Sasuke and I asked at the same time. I'm Uzumaki Karen, she told us. The last living survivor of the Uzumaki clan positioned near the village hidden in the grass. Last survivor. Lord Orochimaru found me when our clan was ambushed by a nomadic clan and burned to the ground. Sasuke sat up, looking at her like he was incredibly intrigued. They let you live? He asked. No, I sensed them coming and ran. She said, flashing him a smile. I'm a censor. That revelation didn't seem to surprise Sasuke at all. I see, he said, but my mind was going an entirely different direction. So, you're really part of my family? Karen gave me a disgusted look. No, your chakra feels dirty, she said, wrinkling her nose. She looked me up and down again, eyes settling on my bright blonde hair that opposed her hot reddish pink hair. It's you're probably because you're a half-breed, she said. Half-breed? I asked. She rolled her eyes, clearly getting tired of explaining everything to me, like how everyone did. It means one of your parents isn't of Uzumaki blood, she said. You're probably more like a distant cousin, if even that. But that's fine. If I know one of my parents' heritage, that means I can figure out who they were. I could end up actually finding. Are there more Uzumaki clans? I asked. In the other villages? Why? She asked, still wrinkling her nose at me. I grinned widely. 'Cause I wanna find them. I told her. I could find people like me. She stared at me for a moment and then sighed, turning from me. When I was really young, My family got word that our clan was most likely the only full, pure blood one still roaming around. She said. You and I. It's very possible we're the last ones. What? She got back up into her bed. I stood there in the center of the room, feet only a centimeter away from crossing Sasuke's line. Well, it doesn't matter much. I turned, going over to my own bed with the yellowish-brown stained sheets and rusted, red iron stands. I never honestly thought about finding bits of my family before anyway. I figured that. I sat on the edge of my bed. That if they left me all alone in Konoha for everyone to hate me, they must hate me the same too. I clasped my hands together. But what if they just lost me, or something? What if I could find someone who knows who I really am? Where I really belong? Does being half-breed mean I wouldn't belong there? I found myself asking. Karen was lying in the bed with her face in the pillow and she sighed, probably wanting to drop the whole conversation altogether. Normally, it would, but. She raised her head. You seem to have some of our power, so. Power? I asked. I'm done talking to you. She said. Figure it out yourself. Sasuke, who had decided to lay back down, turned his head toward her. Karen, explain, he ordered. And just like every girl who ever met Sasuke, she didn't hesitate before she obeyed him. Uzumakis are known for being really good sensors, having a lot of vitality, and being fuinjutsu geniuses. She explained, eyes never leaving his. I don't get it, I said. What's fuinjutsu? And what's vitality? She groaned. Vitality, meaning we all live really, really long lives. Like until we're 1,000. I exclaimed. She glared at me, choosing to go on and ignore my shout. And fuinjutsu is the art of sealing. Like sealing techniques in scrolls or even on people. She told me. Our clan is the one who created that art, so naturally, we're the best at it. Sealing people. I can't really do sealing too well, so I shine in sensory arts. But it's obvious you're a sealing type, isn't it? She asked. That's the whole reason why Orochimaru's interested in you. It took a while, but slowly everything started to fall into place. I turned my right hand over, palm up, and looked at the whirl seal still etched there. Sometimes it disappeared, but when I flexed my chakra, needing it, it returned full force. So, Orochimaru wasn't lying, I asked. I did this. But how? How could I do a technique I've never done before? My eyes slowly drifted up to Sasuke's, who was glaring at me silently. I found myself grinning back at him as he turned away from me. It's easy then, I said to no one in particular, since Karen had pulled the sheets over her head and Sasuke rolled over. I'll just tell him I don't know how I did it. I kicked my sandals off and lay down in my bed. The dust that kicked up made me sneeze until my nose hurt. As I lay there, I found myself wondering what Sakura and Kakashi-sensei and everyone were doing. I worried about Ero Sennin and Grandma Tsunade. I worried about all the people that slowly had become my friends. My friends. But being near Sasuke, the friend I was still dangerously close to losing, took the edge off my worry for them. They're in Konoha. I know they're fine. I turned my head, gazing at the black-haired boy lying with his back to me. It's him that I have to bring back home. Sakura's face flashed in front of my eyes. I made a promise to a very special person. I yawned, and it felt like the moment I closed my eyes, the moment I was thrown into a dream. People I didn't know swarmed in front of my face, saying things I didn't understand, wearing clothes I wasn't used to. I felt sunlight suddenly shining down into my eyes. I lifted my arm, shielding my face and backing up, but my feet hit against the edge of something and I found myself tripping, sprawled out onto my back. Ouch. I muttered, rubbing my side. And so just like that, I ended up making the perfect curry stew. A feminine voice declared. Sounds like an eventful day. A deeper voice said. I watched as a man, who looked like he'd never smiled a day in his life, allowed his lips to stretch upwards for a dark-haired woman who walked next to him wearing a stained apron. She kind of looks familiar. But I know I've never seen her before. Oh, it's just preparing meals. She told him. Everyone has a place in the family. Quote. Family. She repeated, then she snapped her fingers. Speaking of that, where are the boys? She sped up, heading right toward me, where I still sat on the edge of the porch. Hey, watch it. I exclaimed. But she walked right through me. Itachi-kun. Sasuke-kun. Sasuke. I turned, noticing for the first time a tuft of blue-black hair sticking out from behind the edge of the house behind me, accompanied by a small pale hand gripping the wall there. As I noticed it, the woman seemed to as well, and she stopped, waiting expectantly. Suddenly, with his hands outstretched and wiggling playfully, the person jumped out, staggering slightly on small, unsteady legs. Boo! He shouted gleefully, while grinning, looking like the furthest thing from a monster. This kid is. The woman put a hand to her heart, pretending to faint. Oh, you sly little ninja, you got me, she said. His mother bent down, scooping him up into her arms so quickly that his gray trousers sagged slightly, revealing the top of a pair of toilet training pants underneath. A toddler Sasuke. If he's here, then where's? But before the man could complete that sentence, a creak was heard on the roof. Everyone looked up, but before our eyes could even steady from the sun, Sasuke's father jumped to the side, narrowly missing being impaled by another boy. Boo! He said plainly, straightening up and flicking bits of dirt off of a sleeveless white shirt he wore that matched the one the toddler Sasuke wore. His father straightened up, looking completely unfazed. You keep practicing your stealth like that, and you're gonna be the best infiltration ninja this village has to offer. Itachi. He reached out, patting his head just as his mother grabbed his cheek and pinched it playfully. Our little 8-year-old genius. She doted. But now that you've finished playing hide and seek, help me with the sandwiches. Today's picnic day, remember? We're going to the waterfalls then? Itachi asked. A little time with family never hurt anyone. Their father replied. Sasuke stretched down, thick fingers reaching for Itachi, who immediately took him from their mother and balanced him on his hip like he'd been doing it for years. Sasuke grabbed his hair firmly in his chubby infantile hand and tugged it. Ow! Picnic! He exclaimed. Hey, Sasuke, let go. Picnic. Let go, please. Sasuke has such a nice family like this. I watched as they all walked inside to prepare for their small trip. Then what happened to them? But as I asked that, I realized I knew what happened to them. I was there when it happened. In the village, when the yellow tape was stretched across the Uchiha district gate and everyone could smell the blood rotting for miles, and then Sasuke was around all the time. Always alone. Always near me because I was also always alone. The dreamscape changed as my thoughts did. The sun disappeared and was replaced by a large full moon. Blood splattered against the windows and walls. Screams rang out across the district. A swift pair of feet ran from one house to the next, and I just watched. I couldn't move or stop it, and then finally the pair of feet walked up, until they were right in front of me. This person, he is. Even though he was taller, and his eyes were colder and he was covered in blood, I recognized the 8-year-old I'd just seen as his brother. And then he lunged at me, slashing across my body with his sword, and I was almost immediately cut to pieces, bleeding, and Yuzuratonkachi. I shot up out of the bed, head colliding into something really hard and solid. Ow! A voice rang out. I looked around, blinking hard and trying to steady my vision. What the hell is the matter with you? Sasuke grumbled. I looked around the dimly lit, cold, dungeon and rubbed my forehead sorely. Where are we? TCH, in Orochimaru's cage. Are you really that dense after sleeping? I shook my head, trying to shake out what I felt like was a really bad dream. Oh, right. Sasuke rolled his eyes and pointed at the door. They want you. I looked up to see Kabuto standing in the doorway with his eyebrows raised at me. As he held the door open, Karen ducked under his arm, making her way back into our room. Why are they taking us separately? What's happening? Scared to leave your Sasuke-kun? Kabuto joked. I glanced at Sasuke, who rolled his eyes again, and I stuck my tongue out. I'm glad to be leaving this empty box, I said, getting to my feet. Make sure you stay out of my way this time. Why don't you stay out of my way? I retorted. Kabuto slammed the iron door shut behind me, and I watched as he put his hands together, forming some kind of seal on the door. I thought it just had a regular lock. Figures. We're really trapped. What do you want me for? What do you think? Kabuto replied in his sneering tone. More experiments on that precious beauty mark on your palm. Oh right. This thing. I shook my head, wondering why my thoughts were so scattered, but I began to recall the conversation I'd had before I went to sleep. I don't know how I did it. I said to him. I don't know, so, you should stop all this and just let us go. He acted as if he didn't hear me. I stopped in the hall, waiting until, like I knew he would, he stopped too. I'm serious, I yelled. Let us go, this is stupid. Kabuto turned to me, sneer missing from his face. Are you really that much of an idiot? What are you talking about? You're just interested in this seal, right? I'm telling you, it's just gonna have to be stuck forever. He sighed. Your seal isn't the point of all this. He told me. That's just a side operation that's only mildly amusing Lord Orochimaru. His real interest is Sasuke. What does he even want him for anyway? I asked. That's of no concern to you. But until Sasuke makes his move, we'll just have fun cutting the nerves and tendons in your palm, one by one. I don't care what you do to me, I said. But what do you mean about Sasuke's move? Naruto, you can't tell me that you haven't noticed it, he said, smile beginning to return. Noticed what? I asked. Sasuke's true nature. His true nature. He's ambitious. He wants power. And right now, you're standing in the way of that power with this clone curse mark you have. Kabuto said. All Lord Orochimaru has to do is wait until Sasuke gets fed up and snaps and delivers your cold, lifeless body to his feet. I responded without even thinking. You're wrong, I shouted. Even though that guy's an asshole, he's Sasuke. What am I to you? To me, you're my closest friend. Then why? Why are you doing this? It's because you're my best friend, that I have to. I'm the one he really cares about, I declared. Kabuto laughed. His laugh echoed throughout the thin, dark hallways. There was a shearing sound, like fingernails scratching against the other iron doors surrounding us, small fingernails, other prisoners. The one he really cares about, huh? He smirked. So, what? Did you think he was your one true friend? He is, isn't he? But he tried to kill you once before, didn't he? Kabuto turned around, still chuckling. Hey, friends. That's why I could never understand them. I stood there, feeling the emptiness close in around me, and the sound of the little nails scratching against the iron doors filled that emptiness, making it only feel more lonely. Sasuke, would you really? But then, as my brain reeled, reaching out in all directions for an answer, something to clarify, something I already knew, I gripped it. That dream I had. If that was real, then, Sasuke, the true Sasuke, isn't the one Kabuto's talking about. Visions of people being slaughtered left and right, trying to hide and hold their family members, opting to die with them flashed in my mind. A ruthless Sasuke was born to protect the tender Sasuke. It has to be that way. And then I thought of all our missions together, all the moments we'd spent, most of them silent or arguing, but still, together. But, I've always known that, deep inside, I've always known we both put up a front. Hurry up, Kabuto yelled. My eyes set against the dim light, casting shadows across my face. I know my friend. No one can tell me that I don't know Sasuke. I'm going to save him. I'll make it so that the true him doesn't have to hide anymore. He can count on me. Sasuke. Where is this? I blinked, looking around. I felt inexplicably sluggish, like I hadn't slept in days. Which I hadn't. I'd begun having these nightmares I couldn't remember when I slept. So I wanted to avoid it. But I must have fallen asleep. It was dark. There was nothing to see. But in this distance, I could hear something that sounded like dripping water. Dripping, dripping. And then, like an explosion of color, sound and life, I was standing somewhere completely different. This has to be a dream. It was a bright blue cloudless day. My eyes settled on a girl in a dress running past me, carrying 2 bentos as a younger boy followed her struggling to keep up. Tomohiko, hurry, hurry. We'll be late for class. Okay. Nichan. Their feet slapped against the dirt, mixing in with the sounds of life of others. A nice cup of sake. After that mission, that's all I can ask for. Agreed. Hey guys, Papa said we could launch fireworks in the show tonight. Yeah, how much is it for a headband, sir? I can trade it to you for that bracelet you have on. Everyone ran past me, around me, and even at some points through me as they talked, going on about what they needed to do. I felt a strange urge to ask them a question I couldn't even identify. It didn't matter. I had a feeling they wouldn't be able to see me anyway. But with everyone moving around me, naturally, my eyes fell on the one person that wasn't moving. On a short staircase across from me, he sat down, staring straight toward me but with a dazed, empty expression. A look characterized by someone who literally had no idea what to do or where to go from there. I knew that look familiarly since, right after what happened to my clan, I wore that expression for months on end. Sakura-chan, hurry with those flowers. We have to deliver them to Ino's mother straight away. I raised my eyebrows as a small, pink-haired, 3 or 4-year-old sized Sakura in a flowing red and pale pink dress walked right through me, chasing after her mother. As she did, a couple of the flowers blew out of the bag she held and onto the dirt. By instinct, because on missions Sakura dropped things all the time, I reached down but my hand went right through it and another hand, a smaller one reached through my hand and grasped the flower. You dropped this, the younger Naruto declared, but the girl didn't turn. Hey, hey, he called. He ran over, putting a hand on her shoulder and she turned around, squinting against his bright blonde hair which radiated like the sun. Here you go. She began to smile, and reached out, beginning to take it but then a passerby jumped in front of them, separating them, and knocked the flowers out of his hand. Don't touch that boy, he yelled. He's a plague. Shock crossed the girl's face, but as her mother quickly ran back for her and pulled her up into her arms, she didn't protest and faced forward. But, didn't we tell you to stay out of the village square? Get lost, demon, demon, why don't you go get a life? He turned, running away from the shouting people with clear confusion on his face and, just out of obligation I followed him. So this is what Naruto's past looks like. Tears streamed down his face and he sobbed, covering his face as he ran wearing a pair of brown shorts with tatters in them that looked like he dug them out of the garbage. He didn't stop until he was far away from the village plaza and then paused near a house where a woman was scolding her teenaged son. This entire house is a mess. What did you do? Throw a party? She exclaimed. He shrugged sheepishly. It was just a couple of friends, Oka-san. Wait until your father hears about this. Naruto paused near them, watching, and as he did the teenage boy protectively grabbed his mother's arm and pulled her into the house, slamming the door firmly in his face. He turned away, not even the least bit surprised and walked a lonely path up to the poorer side of Konoha where there were mostly shoddy apartments complexes with clothes lines attaching one to the other and walked up the landing into an apartment. He reached down, pulling a key out of his shoe and using it to open the door. I'm not even surprised. The entire place was a mess. Completely, disgustingly dirty and messy. With everything turned over and glass and dishes cracked and shattered and the sheets on his bed balled up and thrown everywhere. The refrigerator door was open. It looked, literally, like a storm passed through. But what I didn't expect was the surprise on his face. Looking down at a note. It read, "This is what you get, you demon child." Oddly, the young Naruto smiled, picking it up and placing it on his desk, where plant seed and painting tools were strewn everywhere. Mail, he said to himself. No one's ever written to me before. He stared at it for a long time and then scratched his hair. I wish I could read it. You're lucky you can't read. He turned, looking around at the messy room and looked at the mirror over his desk, pointing at his reflection. This entire house is a mess. He shouted, high soprano voice ringing out. You better clean it up right now or else you'll be in big trouble. I watched as he bowed his head sheepishly. Sorry, Oka-san. I'll clean it up right away. This is, okay. I love you, Naruto. This is just really. I love you, too, Oka-san. Really, awful. He went around, cleaning his room up and continuing to talk like there was someone else there. A couple times, he reached his fist out, like expecting a friendly fist pound, and so strangely, I found myself reaching my fist out, but it just went through his. How is this even possible? I knew that guy didn't have a family. I knew that, but this is what that looks like. If you finish up fast, I'll take you to the festival and buy you a popsicle. Yes, Otu-san. He's always smiling and saying stupid things, but as my pity for him began to weigh on me, the dream changed. Like it was melting. Naruto sat in the middle of his destructed house, alone, melting away until I was standing in the center of darkness again. Darkness. With the dripping. Suddenly, a pair of hot, red eyes made themselves visible in the darkness. How dare you enter my realm? A bit of light came through, shining on it briefly so I was able to see enough. It was huge. What the hell is that? The roar from the voice caused the water to blow past me along with a burst of wind. A loud, inhumane growl escaped the thing's lips. Kill. If you aren't prepared to kill, don't you ever stand before me again. I took a few steps back, unsure of how to act as it reared its ugly head toward me. Is this still a dream? I'll destroy everything. I felt a cold sweat running down my back before I was even conscious, and when I regained consciousness, I was already sitting up, breathing hard. I thought my heart was going to burst from my chest. Sasuke. What was that? What's going on? Sasuke. Where am I? It took a while for my eyes to process what I was seeing, but I blinked, recalling the cage I was locked up in, and as my eyes rose from the chalk line I'd drawn on the ground and up a bed, my eyes locked on a pair of blue ones. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at me. I turned away from him, trying to steady my breathing and calm my nerves. This is why I stopped sleeping. But then that made something occur to me. That dream, though, it was all about Naruto. I looked up, catching him still sitting there, watching me. How is it possible to have a dream about something I don't even know about? But I knew it had to have been his real past. It just felt too real. But that also meant, I've been having these dreams for a while now. But for some reason, I just couldn't remember them. Aren't you too old to be afraid of the dark? I looked up to see that classic grin plastered across his face. That grin, it's not even him. It's just a mask he puts on. The true Naruto is. I felt a chill go down my spine as that creature's voice echoed in my head again. Filled with darkness. But I addressed him normally. Dumbass, I mumbled. But instead of returning with an insult, he got out of bed, heading toward me. Hey, I shouted. No crossing the line. You can cram your stupid line up your ass, Bakasuke. He replied. TCH. I shied away from him as he neared me. What the hell do you want? The truth. He said. Are you going to try to kill me? I looked up at him. He scratched his hair impishly and smiled again. I know. You wouldn't anymore, right? But I guess I'm just asking to be sure. I balled my fists and looked down at my sheets. If you want to ensure your life, then leave. Quote dot dot dot. What? Karen is a censor. I reminded him. With her ability and your general strength, it wouldn't be an issue for you to escape here since both of you are taken out of this cell often. I'm the only one that's had to stay in here full time. I looked up at him. Create a plan and go home. I told him. Then, you'll be alive and out of my way. He stared at me for a second. Quote dot dot dot. Home, he repeated. Sometimes I wonder if Konoha really was home. Dot dot dot. What does it mean to have a home, anyway? He whispered. I felt awkward momentarily, like I was intruding on his personal thoughts until he laughed. But I'm going to be Hokage, so I have to go back. He declared. Exactly. Who's going to be Hokage if you're wasting your time here, ruining my life? He shook his head. Well, it's just that. He began playing with his fingers. I miss Sakura-chan and Kakashi-sensei and everyone. But when I think of home, somehow, he scratched his hair again. Somehow, it wouldn't feel like home if you weren't there, too, Sasuke. We were both silent. He picked at his boxers, since at some point, he'd removed his jacket and trousers, and I flicked the end of the bed sheet between my fingers. Stop being so awkward, I muttered. It'd be the same village whether I'm there or not. He looked me straight on then. Well, what about you, then? He asked me. What do you think of when you think about home? A vision of my brother and parents swam in front of my view. Ni-san, let's go play hide and seek. My mother pulled my ear. Not until you clean your room, Sasuke. She ordered. Don't worry, Sasuke, Itachi said, offering me a smile. I'll help you. I don't know. I mumbled. How can you not know? Because I don't. I muttered. Well, if someone tried to take away whatever home you could think of, what would you do? I'd do everything in my power to keep it. I said, without blinking. That's what I'm doing, too. He said, motioning to me. I'm taking you back home with me, Sasuke. Then he grinned, shrugging. Besides, I promised Sakura-chan, so. It was silent again. I slowly opened my eyes, sighing. Get out of my face. I mumbled. Let me stare at the ceiling in peace. You can't sleep either, right? Dot dot dot. Either. He walked closer to my bed. I have an idea. He lifted the bed sheet over me and nudged me to the side. What do you think you're doing? Just move. Hey. He pushed me to the side, moving himself underneath the bedsheet next to me. You're way too close to me. Stop complaining, I'm trying to help you. How is this helpful at all? Because, he shouted. Because we're close together. Are you an idiot? I exclaimed, trying to shove him off. I'm trying to sleep. Karen grumbled from her bed. Naruto lifted his head next to me. You don't have bad dreams when you have someone close by. He told me. Who the hell told you that? He paused momentarily, then shrugged. Well, no one, he said as he settled in. But when I used to have bad dreams when I was younger, I always wished I had someone there with me. I watched him momentarily and sighed, deciding not to struggle anymore. He stretched out on his back, angling his face away from mine and resting his hands on his bare chest. I sat up, finding my eyes traveling down to the curse mark on his palm, and Orochimaru's words became evident to me again. You know the agreement, Sasuke. He seemed to whisper. Either tell me how to undo the seal, or kill him. But that agreement, how the hell can I even choose to uphold it if I don't have the information he wants? It seemed like Naruto fell asleep immediately. His breathing was steady and his chest rose and fell in rhythm. Even the idiot himself doesn't know what he did. But I had to admit, when Orochimaru told me it wasn't his planning that had given Naruto a mark on his hand, I was genuinely surprised. How could Naruto even do a jutsu of such caliber that Orochimaru himself is baffled? My hands began to ball into fists. Why does he keep getting so damn strong? I pressed my knuckles together. But this is perfect, isn't it? I wanted to kill him before. I had to kill him before, because I recalled Itachi's words that dreadful night. To come before me with the same power I have. You must kill your closest friend. It was like the universe was stacking against me. I had decided then, at the final valley, that I wouldn't do it. That doing it would make me just as bad as him. But suddenly, I was faced with the same decision all over again. Killing him Naruto now would solve two problems. Free me of this ridiculous captivity and give me the power to be on caliber with Itachi at the same time. I should do it. It makes perfect sense for me to do it. He's in my way. I told him to leave but he insists on being in my way. I let my hands relax, which had been in fists, and I reached toward him, fingers extended, lowering onto his neck. Naruto, you're going to have to die for my sake. Itachi. I froze, fingertips only centimeters away from his throat. It's Sasuke's brother. Naruto's head turned toward me, lolling with sleep. I could feel my blood running cold as he continued sleep-talking. He's the one that murdered the clan. Naruto whispered. How does he know that? How does he know Itachi's name? How does he know he's my brother? And how does he know what he did? As I thought all these things, I felt a strange warmth circulating around the curse mark on my neck. And as I did, it was almost like the one on Naruto's palm was glowing. This clone curse mark, I whispered. What the hell is this? I was hoping it wasn't a two-way street. I was praying it wasn't. I was hoping my wormhole into Naruto's past wasn't accompanied by some strange double wormhole into mine. But with what he was saying, and our twin nightmares, this is insane. Somehow, he's connected both of us. And then my hands dropped from his neck. At this point, even if I truly wanted to kill you, I couldn't do it. Because for all I know, with this weird connection, it could have some adverse effect on me. Like twin deaths. I was filled with anxiousness. 1,000 possibilities. 1,000 endings to this predicament. But as I lowered myself into the sheets, I began to feel an overwhelming sense of serenity. I was reminded of my family again. Of what I thought was home. And it was akin to the feeling I'd felt when I went outside. And then, it occurred to me. It wasn't outside that made me feel that way. It was closeness to him. And that was when I realized. I need to stop this before it gets out of hand. Worst case scenario, I'll be completely dependent on Naruto. Kabuto. Karen's reporting. I said right before I dropped down into the metallic chair next to the surgical table. Orochimaru was sitting up on the surgical table, incredibly weakened after I'd done tests all morning to try to give him new variants of the drug that stopped the pain in his useless arms. Good, Orochimaru said, breathing heavily. Karen, go on. She bowed her head, nodding, and continued to speak. Karen, so weak and fragile. For the past week, the Uzumaki boy has grown restless, spending all his time concocting new ways to annoy Sasuke-kun. An expression passed over her face, one of irritation. I wish for him to be neutralized, Lord Orochimaru. He's an interference. Or at least she seems that way when reporting to Orochimaru-sama. But with all the other prisoners and even to me at times, she's gained the reputation as one of the most difficult and prideful females anyone has ever set eyes on. With Sasuke-kun, she nodded hard. During the days, they're normal. They bicker all day and threaten to kill each other and even get into fights now and then. Interesting. I spoke up. Who wins? There isn't enough space for them to fight seriously. She said in a matter-of-factly tone. So, they get tired of it. I sighed. How boring. Orochimaru commented. But then, they act completely different other times. Karen told him. Other times, they're kind and considerate to each other, going to great lengths to talk seriously, and every night, they. Orochimaru and I waited, staring at her. What? I asked. At night, they do what? Sleep together. She said. I turned to Orochimaru. I won that bet. I replied. He ignored me. Every night, he repeated. She nodded, looking hopeless. I see. He said. It looks like the worst has happened. What? That your new body host has a thing for blondes? I asked. But he clearly wasn't in the mood for jokes. He stared at the wall, musing silently. It'll have to happen as quickly as possible, he said. Sasuke needs to identify Naruto as an enemy. Today. He slid off the table and began his slow stagger toward the door. We can't have Sasuke reverting back to his natural relationship with Naruto. Orochimaru went on. What about that relationship is natural? Is there anything else? I asked Karen as we headed for the room. She paused momentarily. Is she considering lying? You do realize withholding any information is similar to treason. I reminded her. I understand that perfectly, she said, indignantly. It's just, I'm not too sure about this. We will be the ones to decide whether it's useful or not. Just speak, I said. Well, Sasuke's been acting sort of odd. Odder than sleeping with boys. I mean, like hearing things. Orochimaru's head turned, showing, even as he staggered down the hall, he was listening. Hearing what? Well, whenever you guys take Naruto to test on him, he starts holding his hands to his ears, like it's loud but, it's not loud, it's quiet. Did he ever mention to you what he was hearing? Orochimaru questioned. No, but, she cocked her head. He did complain to Naruto early yesterday about his screaming. Screaming, I repeated. He said something like, it's clear that you want to leave, if you didn't, you wouldn't be screaming every time they torture you, she said. But the thing is, Naruto doesn't scream when we test his mark. Even though the methods we use are probably incredibly painful, he can't. We always feed him with a drug to paralyze his muscles, including the ones needed for speech. Quote. He asked me before if I heard his screaming. Karen mumbled. Quote. I never heard anything. Orochimaru turned, facing forward again so I couldn't see the expression on his face, but strangely, as I looked closer, it seemed like the corner of his mouth was turned up in a smirk. Naruto, I heard him say quietly, tongue wetting his lips. It seems you've opened a bigger can of worms than I even could have imagined. Naruto, something happy. In front of my eyes, a 6 or 7-year-old Sasuke appeared being carried on a pre-teen Itachi's back. I told you to be more careful training Sasuke. He buried his face into his older brother's hair. It's fine since you were there, Ni-san. I'd watched the scene a million times by then. Once in the dream, I discovered I could see whatever I wanted out of Sasuke's past. I wasn't really sure how I was doing it, but it was like asking myself for a favor. Another happy one. A 4-year-old looking Sasuke heard the front door open and dropped his ninja toys as he hurriedly ran to the front door, jumping into his older brother's arms. Or like changing the channel on a television. I just needed to want to see something else. Something painful. I wasn't really sure why I asked for the painful things. Watching them hurt me as much as it hurt the Sasuke in the vision. But I guess I was just still in denial that something painful really could have happened to that self-deserving asshole. I honestly couldn't watch enough of it. By the 7th night sleeping there, I'd watched more scenes of an 8-year-old Sasuke curled up in a random apartment on the richer side of Konoha crying into his pillow and tossing and turning in bed than I did scenes of him as a happy child. And then, I'd just sit there in his past, watching as he sat alone in his apartment tearing his family's pictures out of old photo albums and burning them in fires, or being sure to leave the light on in the bathroom every night before he went to sleep, or hearing knocks at the door by kind villagers coming to give him toys and fruit only to ignore it. Who would have known that he'd burn more than 200 pictures in one sitting? I did. I counted each one. And who would have known such a bastard guy was afraid of the dark? I did. I felt a sense of panic for him in any dream where he almost forgot to put the light on. And who would have known the way he really felt about all those nice people? Poor Uchiha kid, he whispered to himself. That's probably all they say. I hate them. I hate everyone here. Oi, boy, an older man's voice yelled. We cooked food. I don't need any of their pity help. He muttered. I'm not weak. Maybe he's not home. Hey, open the door, kid. Did he run away? Initially, I didn't get it. As a kid, I'd have jumped at any chance to have someone knock at my door. No one ever came by my place. Except the third Hokage to drop off a check. This jerk. He doesn't even realize how good he has it. Open the door, Bakasuke. I shouted at him. I punched through his form, wishing it was all real so I could beat some sense into his stupid head. You wouldn't have to be alone if you'd just open the freaking door. He never had to be alone. He just chose it for himself. Choosing to sit in his stupid empty apartment all alone forever and wallow in his own stupid self-pity. Feeling sorry for you is so stupid. I shouted as his form. There's people who would love you right there. But of course he couldn't hear me. What the hell is wrong with you? I yelled. Who do they think they're fooling? Sasuke said quietly. Let's just leave it by the door and get out of here. One lady said. Yeah, a man groaned. But I wonder if third Hokage-sama will be pleased with us even if we didn't actually see him. Third Hokage. There were murmurs of agreement and footsteps walking off. Sasuke Uchiha. It's just my clan. That's all they think about. They don't actually want to get to know Sasuke. Or care about Sasuke. They just want to look like kind people. I'm not buying into their lies. Kind people. He got up slowly making his way to the door, and he picked up all the things those kind people brought him and dumped it straight in the trash next to the door. Just because of my surname people lie to me. They pretend to adore me. They pretend to want the best for me. He slammed the door behind him, small frame sliding down to the carpet where he pulled his legs into his chest. I could say anything to them and they'd all smile and nod, but he grabbed onto a rose that someone had left, squeezing it in his hand, smashing it until the red smeared across his fingers. Isn't the person who cares about someone the person who tells them the truth? It was strange then. I'd firmly believed that having people, no matter if they lied or not, was better than having no one. But he believed the opposite, and the reason why felt really honest. It was changing my own thoughts. So that's why he always stayed away from all the girls at school that loved him and all the teachers that tried to hug him and all of his fans. Because he felt like they were lying to him. I walked over, crossing my legs and sitting down in front of the 10 or 11-year-old Sasuke that ripped the rose to shreds. He paused, looking down at the pieces. Well, at least there's one person who doesn't pretend to care about me. I raised my eyebrows. Who? I asked him. He reached, slowly picking up one rose petal delicately between his forefinger and thumb. His lips parted, like he was going to say the person's name. I leaned forward, trying to hear it, almost until my nose was touching his. Come on, tell me. I prodded. Are you going to shut up? A voice said. I blinked. The dream shook momentarily, like a television channel that was getting a bad signal. I strained still, trying to read Sasuke's lips. Are you going to shut up? The voice repeated, echoing throughout my head. Then the dream shattered, and even though I tried to hold on, everything was falling apart. Wait. I felt hands on me, shaking me. Sasuke. Wait. I muttered. What the hell are you talking about? Huh. I blinked. The dim orange light of the almost burned out candle swam into my view. Then Sasuke's face, leaning over mine. What? What the hell are you doing saying my name while you're asleep? Sasuke asked me. It had become a lot easier to remember the dreams after I woke up, since I wanted to remember them. I grasped it easily, remembering the full force of what had happened. But I don't even know if these dreams are real or not. What's the point of you taking up all my bed space if you're having nightmares anyway? You stopped having nightmares every night, didn't you? I pointed out. And besides, I wasn't even having one. It was just a dream. He lay back down, sliding his hand behind his head and directing his gaze up at the wall. About me? He asked. My face broke out into protest. I wouldn't ever have a dream about you. I retorted. That would be completely gross and weird, and anyway, I don't even know what your past is like, so how? Naruto. He interrupted me. I stiffened, wondering if he was going to call me out on my blatant lie. He was still lying on his back and angling his head away from me, at the wall. I pressed my face into the pillow and sighed. What? Which do you think is worse? Losing something close to you or never having anything to lose in the first place? I didn't even have to think about it. They're both bad, I told him. Losing something close, it hurts by making you afraid to trust anyone ever again. Suddenly, Sasuke's words in my dream floated back to me. What he was saying, how he felt. It's all because he's afraid of someone breaking his trust. But never having anything at all. I went on. I guess it just kind of makes you hopeless. I smiled slightly, pushing up against the pillow. Quote. Just really hopeless. You think you're hopeless, don't you? I countered. Quote. No. Wait. Really? I turned my head, bringing it around to face his. He looked down at me, giving me that same dull expression. You're just clingy and emotionally unstable. He muttered. I thought you were going to say something nice. Maybe I can't because I don't have much to go off of. We glared at each other and then he sighed, looking back at the wall. The loneliness of never having someone from the beginning. It's useful. I glanced up at him. When you finally do get people to care about, you value your relationships with them more than the average person would. It makes you incredibly empathetic and loyal. I reached, tugging on his shirt. You think I'm loyal to you? He turned, giving me a matter-of-factly look. You're lying next to me on a chain bed in a dungeon miles away from Konoha. What the hell do you think? I grinned. But you'd do the same for me, wouldn't you? He rolled his eyes. Of course not. I'd have gone straight back to Konoha the first chance I had, whether you were with me or not. I really hate you, you know. I told him. But I was still grinning, and oddly, he smiled back. I wondered then, what kind of nice things could someone who lost everything have? I'd never really considered there being anything good about Sasuke. I'd always just seen his flaws: arrogance, one-track mindedness, hatred, negativity, pessimism. I could go on about how awful that jerkass was for days. But something nice. So what good thing do you think can come from losing everything? I asked him. His smile faltered and faded. There's nothing good about that. Nothing at all. But before I could debate it, the iron door behind us groaned and creaked open. Getting cozy? A voice asked. I turned, rolling around onto my back as Sasuke sat up next to me. You two are getting quite close. Orochimaru wheezed. Are you here to free us? Sasuke asked him. I suppose you could see it that way. Really? I exclaimed. Yes, he said. Hopefully, one of you will be very free quite soon. I balled my fists. No, I told you already. I'm not leaving here without Sasuke. Let us both go, I said to him. His reptile-like eyes flicked to mine like a snake's tongue and he chuckled. Naruto, when will you realize that your beloved Sasuke would rather be here with me than anywhere with you? You're wrong. He's just. I looked up at Sasuke, who avoided my eyes. But his fists were also balling. He's just afraid. He's afraid of getting too close to anyone. So he's trying to push us all away. I raised my eyebrows, shocked at my own understanding of him. Since when did I see this guy in a good light, anyway? Sasuke, your time is up, Orochimaru said. A curse seal can only be removed by the seal caster, or in this case, the seal sealer. Naruto. Since he isn't aware of the key he used to seal it, you're left with no other options. He grinned. You must battle Naruto and I shall have the victor. We're not doing that, I replied at the same time. Sasuke said, fine. I turned to him, face exploding into unrest. What do you mean? He shoved me, making me roll out of the bed and just nearly catch myself on my toes. Move out of my way. But I I was tugged backwards as someone's fingers closed around my arm. Hurry up, Naruto. We really haven't got all day. Kabuto said, forcing me toward the door. You've held up Sasuke for almost 2 full weeks now. I turned, stumbling out of the door, barefoot. But what about my shoes? I exclaimed. We aren't breaching ground level. Not that your comfortability concerns me at all. Orochimaru said. I raised my eyes, catching the sight of Karen standing further down the hall and cocked my head. That's right. She wasn't in bed. Why did they keep moving? Sasuke fell into step next to me. I turned my head, trying to get a good look at his face, but it was completely blank. Why would you agree to this? Could it be that you still want to kill me, Sasuke? Sasuke. The arena we were led to was indoors. It was large, dim and dirty. Dark greenish-brown walls surrounded us in a circular fashion with a couple of in-wall boxes for seating much higher up. Who are they? Naruto asked. Beneath those viewing boxes though, there was a line of people standing there. Kids like us, all wearing rags similar to the ones Karen wore when I'd first seen her. Since then, she'd gotten a pretty obvious upgrade in clothing to the point that, there, standing between us and Orochimaru, she wore lavender-colored cotton fabric wrapped around her in a kimono-like fashion. That girl is much closer to Orochimaru than it seems. Your opponents, Orochimaru replied. And it also seems that Naruto isn't the only person Orochimaru wants to get rid of. Like a battle royale? Naruto asked. He's lining us all up like cattle to die. Is this how he controls overpopulation around here? I recalled the hands gripping the bars as we walked past the other iron doors. Either this or starvation. They all stood as he neared them. One by one they obediently bent, bowing their heads to him and struggling to balance themselves on one malnourished, bony knee. Do you even feed these guys? Naruto exclaimed. Do we feed you? Kabuto retorted. Silence. Orochimaru said. His eyes traveled among the 20 or so children there, as they raised their heads and observed us silently. You all have served me well. Orochimaru said. But unfortunately, we've come to the end of the road. Their eyes all widened simultaneously. Some with grief, some with guilt, and others with shame. Orochimaru motioned to me, smirking snidely at them. This boy will become my successor, soon. He told them. His name is Sasuke-kun and he will be in charge of exterminating you. Exterminating. Perhaps you may still be able to prove useful to me. He said. Then he chuckled. But I doubt it. Their eyes turned to me and once locked, the guilt and grief and shame was replaced with only one thing, pure contempt and rage. This isn't going to be a battle royale at all. He's planning for this to be. A complete massacre. Naruto whispered, finishing my sentence. Then he looked at me, blue eyes shining. Is he trying to kill you? No. He just wants to test me to be sure I'm even worth all the trouble he's going through. There's better ways to test you, you know. Naruto muttered. This guy's a maniac. Orochimaru had turned around, walking with Kabuto over to the booth high in the wall over our heads. Come Karen, Orochimaru stated. She nodded, clearly relieved she didn't have to participate and walked toward him, but as she passed me, she paused. You can do it, she told me. Naruto looked at her expectantly, to which she continued walking by without even sparing him a glance. Some cousin you are, he grumbled. I don't need some girl to tell me what I can and cannot do. I looked out among them, feeling a strong sense of confidence surge through me as I picked out the ones who I believed may pose a problem and found that there were only 2 or 3. I'm not even going to break a sweat. Hey, Naruto remarked. You're always putting on airs like that, you arrogant asshole. He thrust his fist into his palm. Well, I haven't practiced much since I've been here. This will be a fun warm-up. I turned to him. No, I said. Orochimaru only said for me to fight. There's no reason for you to interfere. He never says my name. That doesn't mean anything. Fine. I told him. I'll put it this way. My Sharingan activated. If you get in my way, I'll kill you. He crossed his arms and glared at me. I glared back. Whatever. He muttered. Quote. One day, I'll make him realize how useful I really am. I blinked, staring hard at him. His lips weren't moving, but I could have sworn I heard him speak. Are you ready, Sasuke? I turned around, then, facing them all. I was born ready. I could hear Orochimaru's chuckles fill the arena. Good answer. The cast-offs got to their feet, cracking their knuckles, some grinning at me, others glaring. All wanting to prove themselves to this snake master. Begin. They all rushed toward me, some immediately weaving signs, others diving forward with punches. Normally, with my Sharingan, it was like everyone else's reaction time. Speed and movement was slowed slightly so that I could react to catch them in their attack or even attack earlier than them. But at that time, my Sharingan was completely different. It was like I could see each of them separately. They were all moving in a group, but I was able to easily discern which attacks were the ones that needed the most attention. Like a boy's fingers moving quickly to produce something that was probably an earth-style wall barrage, just you on the left, and a girl weaving signs to produce something like a water jutsu. I found a smirk spreading over my face. The upgrade my Sharingan got while fighting Naruto at the final valley is a lot stronger than I even expected. I left the water-style attack to be formed, but dove directly toward the boy doing the earth-style and made my way through the group. They all pounced on me, but I was too fast for them to catch, and they were so blinded by their eagerness to get to me none of them were thinking, and at least 3 of them impaled themselves simply by hitting their foreheads hard enough against each other to give them concussions. Idiots. I declared. You won't be saying that for long. Someone shouted, lunging to grab me. I smirked, allowing him to actually get his arms around me only to do the hand signs for a fireball jutsu and take a huge breath right in front of his face. Point blank range. AGHHH. He exclaimed, letting me go and stumbling away. The fireball jutsu whooshed around and over him, singeing people's hair and parts of their rag clothes and, as I predicted, right near the boy trying to perform the earth jutsu, causing him to stop his sign weaving in order to dodge. This is too easy. You guys deserve to be exterminated. I mumbled. Sasuke, stop playing around and pay attention. Naruto hollered from where he stood on the sidelines. I glanced at him and then turned, looking up where he pointed. Kabuto stood in the rafters, holding a large case which he was positioning to turn over and pour onto us. Why don't you guys play with some toys to make this more interesting? He called down to us. I watched a bunch of paper bombs, shuriken, smoke bombs, kunai knives, and poison tags rain down over us like it was a damn ninja rainstorm. They all scrambled over each other trying to reach for weapons, and it was clearly evident to me at that point that I barely had any time to spare. The boy who had tried to do the earth jutsu attempted it again, and I jumped over a couple of the youngest kids fighting over a kunai and landed over him, delivering a solid kick to the side of his head. Try again, I taunted. He glared, rushing toward me, of course with more people coming from all sides. I ducked, allowing him to punch over me, hitting someone else in the face and then kneed him in the stomach so that he fell over me, pulled him over me and turned, miraculously just in time as someone threw a kunai at me and it plunged into his back. A round of shuriken came after that, with him taking them all in his back and coughing blood over me, and I threw him back against them, causing one of the kids who had a paper bomb to accidentally stick it to someone else's back, who immediately panicked. Get it off. Get it off me. I turned, sensing someone coming over on my back, and as the whoosh of flames burst behind me from the exploding paper bomb, I saw the girl from before with the water style, accompanied by a couple others, complete her jutsu and have it raise up, crashing toward me. Finally, this girl did what I wanted. I easily backflipped out of the way and, while the rise of the water jutsu blocked everyone's view, causing them to get swept in with the current and have more accidental exploding weapons, I ran around, making sure that the water had sufficiently drenched everyone before I squatted and thrust my right hand down. The bright blue lightning sparkled in my eyes and I turned, thrusting my hand into the water that was also touching my own feet, and with zero regard for my own body I pulsated the lightning through the waves. The effect was immediate. Everyone soaked in the water was thoroughly electrocuted to the point that, even after the water jutsu girl, who was also electrocuted, called off her waves, everyone was permanently jolting and rolling around with their muscles spasming uncontrollably. But they weren't dead. I didn't crank my Chidori voltage up high enough to cause anything more than temporary paralysis. I got to my feet, watching them all, and as I did, I felt something. Someone similar to the desperate needs of their hearts. They were all feigning for some kind of recognition from Orochimaru. And I got the feeling that their need for him was much different than mine. They wanted some kind of appreciation. Some kind of acknowledgement. I turned toward Naruto, who was slowly walking, with his hands up behind his head like he wasn't even slightly surprised that I'd finished in less than 5 minutes. It was acknowledgement like the kind Naruto wanted from me. Like the kind of desperate need that really shows an aching for companionship. As I looked up to Orochimaru gripping the bars that prevented him from falling over the edge of his booth and grinning at me like he was child in a toy store, a weird thought crossed me. Does ignoring Naruto make me the same as this man? This man who purposely crushes these children knowing the only thing that they want is his approval. Like the approval I'd always wanted from my brother. Humans are strange. It's like we purposely covet the attention of the one person we can never have. Does that make us all happy? Knowing that no matter what, as long as that person continues ignoring us and we continue fighting for their love, we'll never grow bored. Does it give us all some kind of twisted purpose? Naruto's feet stopped in front of me. Twisted what? He asked. I had been looking down at the shaking water user in front of me and I looked up. What are you talking about? You were just saying something to me. No, I wasn't, I replied. He scratched his head. I could have sworn I heard you. But then my eyes flicked up, and with my Sharingan still activated I saw it, heading toward the back of Naruto's head so quickly, all I could really do for a second was stare. I saw Naruto's eyes widened, and for a second a strange thing happened. I blinked and I saw myself. I saw myself with an incredulous expression looking up, and as I blinked again, my vision was back to normal and I moved, ignoring the shouts and screams of protest from my half-electrocuted arm and feet which had also been submerged in water at that time, and dove into him. Naruto turned around, blocking his face with his hand, and I grabbed him, bringing him down onto the stadium floor and narrowly avoiding his death by at least 12 shuriken in a barrage. The person was running toward me, and as Naruto winced, gripping his hand which was dripping in blood, I got to my feet and with my left hand reached out and grabbed the person's arm right as they were about to use it to punch me. The girl screamed out as my fingers curled around her wrist. I was your opponent, I reminded her. She bent, sliding down to her knees as my hand gripped her arm harder. A sharp pain was spreading throughout my pointer finger and middle finger on my right hand, but I ignored it, satisfied with making the girl in front of me beg for mercy. I continued squeezing her arm until I could feel it, the bone there, and I wanted to snap it. Watching Naruto rolling around holding his hand made me want to snap it, but strangely, as I looked at her, I imagined her rolling around and holding her broken arm exactly as he was, and I found I wanted to avoid that feeling. The feeling of watching excessive pain. So I dropped her arm. She breathed heavily, and with my Sharingan I could see her movements before she made them, her movements toward Naruto again, and so I lifted my leg and kicked her across the face, busting her nose and knocking her out in one simple strike. Ah! Naruto continued wailing. My fingers. Stop crying like a damn baby. I muttered, not being able to ignore the pressing pain in my own hand. The hand that wasn't electrocuted. When I looked down at it, it looked fine, it stretched out in all directions, but strangely, it was in so much pain, like I'd gotten a couple of my fingers cut off. My fingers got cut off. Naruto exclaimed. I turned, looking at his hand, his left hand, with 2 of his fingers severed by the shuriken and only hanging on by threads. And my left hand pulsated and tingled in the exact same area. I dropped to my knees, too, grabbing with my electrocuted Chidori hand, which was also in pain at the phantom pains coming from my left hand. This actually really hurts. Why would I lie about this hurting? Naruto shouted. You're lucky you're not dead. I retorted. I didn't hear a thank you. Get me a freaking medical ninja. Then I'll thank you. You ungrateful. Congratulations, Sasuke. We were so busy with our injuries we didn't even notice Orochimaru, Kabuto and Karen walking up. You passed with flying colors. What are you two doing on the ground? Kabuto asked. Having a celebration. Kabuto, heal his hand. I told him. I gripped my own fingers harder, wondering why the pain was increasing until I saw the sheer flaps of skin holding Naruto's fingers together tearing. Now, I added. Though, I wonder how well you'll fare in a death match against Naruto in this condition. Orochimaru seethed. A death match is impossible. I said to him. Isn't it obvious? We're connected somehow. Orochimaru gazed at me momentarily and then smirked. Kabuto, do as he asks. Kabuto leaned over Naruto and the hum of green chakra energy flowed out and, also using a scalpel of chakra, he began to sew and stitch Naruto's fingers. I can't fight Naruto in this condition. I went on, relieved as the pain began to fade. At this rate, if I kill him, it could kill me as well. But Sasuke, hasn't this always been the case? Orochimaru asked. I shook my head at him. It's different. This clone curse mark could cause my death and, whether it's literally or metaphorically, you've always had your own life on the line for the sake of Naruto's, haven't you? He went on. Then his eyes narrowed, giving the impression that he was looking down on me. What makes this time different is perhaps. He turned, walking away. The change in you. I looked after him, stretching my fingers out as the pain dissipated and slowly lowering my eyes to a couple of drops of Naruto's blood on the ground. Blood drops which again made me feel animosity toward the stupid girl that caused him pain. My change. Am I really starting to? The door echoed after it shut firmly behind Orochimaru. But if I have changed then, it's over. I won't ever be able to turn my back on Naruto again. Naruto, what the hell is wrong with you? A lot more time passed. Karen kept marking the days, making the little lines, but I always got confused with all of the diagonal lines, so it hurt my head trying to figure it out. But there were a lot of marks. A lot. Other than periodic food and bathroom breaks, we weren't allowed to leave again. Karen just kept on marking, and Sasuke, even though before he and I used to pass the time by working out, and often getting annoyed with each other and fighting, he started to just lie around, silently. I got bored, so I made 4 clones and had them all poke him interchangeably. Sasuke, Sasuke, Sasuke. They chanted. Leave me alone. He growled. Tell us what's wrong, Sasuke. And then he'd go about smashing each of their heads into walls or the iron bedside to make them explode into smoke, but after about 3 times of him doing that in one day, he just quit. And I got annoyed. Come on. Stop being such a jerk and just spit it out already. Go away. Isn't it obvious? Karen asked from her bed. I turned to her, picking my ear with my pinky finger. Huh. He's realized that he's probably going to spend the rest of his life rotting in this cell with you. Sasuke had been lying on his stomach, dragging his finger across the wall, and at that moment, he stopped and pressed his head into the pillow. Who told you we're staying here? I confronted her. When Sasuke's ready, we'll be on the first trip out of here. With what plan? She asked. My super duper, ultra, extraordinary spectacular plan. With the types of jutsu I was able to learn from Ero Sennin, like frog summoning for one, it actually wouldn't have been difficult to escape. All I needed to do was summon a frog, it didn't have to be big, and have it sneak through the cracks, find its way to light and give it a message to return to Konoha. Then when Ero Sennin would arrive to rescue me, I would just need to be outside ready and waiting. which also wouldn't be difficult. With so much time to think, I discovered that when Kabuto dragged me out of the cell for experimentation every other day or so, I could make a clone and send it out to memorize the hallways, doors and exits. My clones were destroyed by some kind of hidden trap every time, but I was getting closer to discovering how the maze worked. It was only a matter of time before I'd have a virtual map sewed into my memory bank. For once in my life, I was actually being patient about something. But that wasn't because I actually wanted to be patient. If it was just me, I'd have escaped the first chance I got. But I wasn't leaving without Sasuke. I was only waiting around for him to come to his senses. I thought so. You don't have a plan, Karen said. And even if you did, Lord Orochimaru would catch you. Screw your Lord Orochimaru, I replied. At least I don't worship some snake creep, and neither does Sasuke. You'll be the only one in here to rot. She rolled her eyes. Whatever. I glanced back at Sasuke, who still hadn't moved, and pointed at her. What makes you think that's what he's thinking anyway? She remained silent. Well, go on, split if you think you're so smart. She sighed. You're ruining him, she told me. And Lord Orochimaru realizes that. That's why he said that to Sasuke after his fight. Said what to him? I was too busy praying my fingers went back together, I didn't even notice. Something about Sasuke changing, or something. We're all ninja, Karen went on. Ruthless assassins who fight only to win and face death in every single battle. But we're fearless. We go in, no matter what the cost. But at that time, Sasuke said. I blinked, recalling that part vividly. I can't fight Naruto in this condition. At this rate, if I kill him, it could kill me as well. Karen stabbed the wall with the chalk. Every battle puts a ninja's life on the line. No matter if it's directly or indirectly. She looked over at Sasuke. And you know that, Sasuke. So why did you say that? I could see Sasuke stiffening, but he didn't reply. But I know why he said it. And so does Lord Orochimaru. She lifted the chalk, using it to point at me. He wasn't concerned with his own life. He was concerned with yours. I froze. Momentarily, as I blinked, I saw a vision myself standing there wide-eyed, staring at Karen, and when I blinked again, that vision was gone. It happened right before I almost got my fingers cut, too. Back then, I was so confused, but seeing those shuriken coming for me from another point of view is what made me panic and turn around, which is how my fingers were cut. Why do I keep seeing myself when I close my eyes like this? I glanced back at Sasuke, who had sat up and was looking at me at some point. But his gaze seemed. Damn, he's mad. I forced myself to laugh. Shows how much you know, I remarked. Sasuke couldn't give two shits about me. Karen rolled her eyes. I wish that were true, she said. Because then, Sasuke could get on with his training. Like he needs to become a greater ninja than you could even imagine. I scoffed. Yeah, whatever. I'm a censor, you idiot. She retorted. I can feel his chakra. And it's strong. Incredibly strong. The strongest chakra I've ever felt from someone our age. He could be. Her eyes shifted to Sasuke's. He could be amazing. If only you were out of the picture. I balled my fists. I knew she was right. Everything she'd said was obvious, and I was even startled by his actions during that time, but I was too distracted to ask, and even more than that, I didn't really want to know the answer. We're getting too close. It's clear that a ninja shouldn't be afraid of battle, whether their death is imminent or not. And even more than that, Sasuke isn't afraid of death. He came to AS rank criminals, quarters to be caged, toyed with, and experimented on in hopes that it'd make him stronger. He was put up against 20 or more kids in a situation where they were all his opponent, and he went up against me, even while I was bursting with crazy chakra from the 9 tails in my stomach at the time, and he didn't bat an eyelash in any single one of these circumstances. In fact, he smiled at the challenge. But when my life is in danger, it's completely different. He purposely kept me out of his match, and he rescued me, and he even asked Orochimaru to call off our death match, all under the guise of his own selfishness. He's not fooling anyone. But strangely, his pride felt like mine at that particular moment, so I continued feeding his lies. Whatever you say, Karen, Uzumaki, if that is your real name. I joked, plopping down on my bed. As if by cue, at that exact moment, the door groaned, creaked, and begged for mercy as Kabuto pushed it open. Come on. Karen stood up and without another word, they both left, slamming the door firmly behind them. I dunno why, but for some reason, I feel like she's supposed to be our secret babysitter or something. I said. It's called spying. And that's obvious. He muttered. I got up off my bed and walked over to him, nudging his shoulder. Want to go to sleep? He didn't reply. Instead, he continued staring up at the ceiling with his hands interlocked behind his head and an expressionless face. Sasuke. He sighed, moving to the side and allowing me to slide in next to him. We should leave. I said, propping myself up on my elbow. You should leave. He countered. Shut up. Okay. I'm serious. I said, edging closer to him. That guy's insane. If he thinks you're not going to kill me, he'll probably kill both of us. All the more reason for you to leave. I already told you I'm not going anywhere, Bakasuke. Then, you'll kill me. I glared at him. Can you stop being such an asshole for like 5 seconds? I exclaimed. He rolled his eyes, turning his head away from me. I'm not a weakling, alright. You know that. I pointed out to him. I can help you get stronger. I can help you fight. I can help you do whatever you need to do to win against Itachi, so you should just. But before I could continue my rant, he flipped over on me, forcing my shoulders down into the bed and rising up over me. In less than 3 seconds flat, I was pinned into the bed so hard I could feel my back pressing through the mattress and against the iron-wound rusty springs. What did you just say? He asked me, eyes shining with menace. I had to backtrack for almost a full minute until I realized it. Shit. I wasn't supposed to know that. I know what you want to do, okay. I shouted, just deciding to get it over with. I know you want to go after Itachi. I know you want your revenge. And there's also something else I might know. But that's too. You don't know anything about me. He hollered. I'm sick of you running around pretending like you're no me. You don't even know the first thing about me. I tried to speak but he was talking over me. Didn't I tell you already? You never had a family. You didn't have anyone from the start. So, how the hell could you know what it feels like to be me? Could you just shut up and let me talk? There's nothing you could possibly say that I want to hear. Then stop lying. He paused, gripping my shoulders harder and grinding his teeth. You know how I know, Sasuke. I shouted at him. And it's time you stopped avoiding it. I sighed. I have dreams about you, alright. And in those dreams, I can see everything about you. I saw your entire clan get massacred through your eyes when your brother put that jutsu on you. I've seen it almost every single night. He glared at me, face literally inches from mine. But I've also seen your family. I've seen the picnics you used to take with your family to the edge of the waves country. I swallowed. I've seen you and your brother playing games like hide and seek and piggyback riding and getting read bedtime stories together. I closed my eyes, pressing myself to continue. Closing my eyes, I could almost see it as clearly as if it was a dream. All colorful, all peaceful and bright. I've seen you practicing archery with your dad. And you helping your mom cook in the kitchen. And all of the Uchiha clan's members. All of them smiling at you and asking about your day and giving you sweets on your way to school. I felt my voice catching, my lips trembled. I've watched it so much that it bleeds into my own memories. All your sadness and all your happiness and all your anger, it feels like it's all mine. Almost like it's my family. I took a shaky breath. Like, I was the one who lost them all. And I can feel how it hurts every night, too. Like 1,000 different kunai knives stabbing you all at once. I whispered, struggling to hold back tears. That's why, but I stopped, shocked as I felt something warm and wet drop onto my cheek. I opened my eyes. I couldn't even begin to express the surprise that shot through me as I looked up to see him. He avoided my eyes, settling for gazing to the left as another tear slid down his cheek and dropped from his chin, falling and splashing onto my cheek. Just shut up, Yuzuratankachi. He said quietly, voice edging on a crack. You don't have to say anything else. Sasuke. He let go of my shoulders. And I couldn't stop the emotion flooding me at the moment that I allowed myself to realize that Sasuke was crying to me. I raised my hands, grabbing him, and he pushed down into me willingly, wrapping his arms around me roughly. I grabbed handfuls of the back of shirt and he buried his face into my chest. I could feel the urgency, with both of us squeezing our eyes shut, and holding onto each other like there was nothing else in the world, and being unnecessarily strong-handed, scratching at each other, pulling each other's clothes, grabbing really hard. It was probably because it was such a weird moment. So unlike us. So the roughness, in some way, it stabilized us. Because we always refused to show each other tears. It was like some kind of unwritten code in our relationship. No weakness. Ever. But, friends. He drew in a breath and I could hear the beginnings of a sob as I gripped the back of his shirt, squeezing him as hard as I could, holding him as close as possible. Friends are the ones that you don't need to hold back for. Like Sasuke had said to himself when he was younger, they're the ones who don't lie. It's okay, Sasuke. Just let it all out. He was shaking so much it was almost like he was freezing. Friends are the ones who you count on to always be there for you, no matter what, no matter where, and more than all of that, friends are the ones you can show your true side, to. I raised my hands to his hair and neck, allowing him to get the physical and emotional support he so desperately needed, and wondered how long he had to suffer with this pain and agony balled up inside of himself. How long did he have to sit there next to the door and have people leave him empty gifts and toys? How long did he have to walk around town with people whispering about him being the awesome Uchiha genius, without actually trying to see what was behind that face? That mask. And not one of these so-called Sasuke fans ever bothered to ask him how he felt or even give him a single hug. I found myself smiling. I guess I'm kind of glad to be the first person that could hug you, I said to him. He shifted on me, black hair moving against my cheek. Sasuke, your true side, I've finally found it. I stayed still, allowing him all the time he possibly needed to pull himself back together, periodically rubbing his back and as my left hand dropped, lowering to his neck. I felt a strange warmth surge through me. I blinked, feeling a chakra pulse whoosh out from me. The chakra had always been presenting, low-lying, but present. But the moment my hand moved where it did, it strengthened, and as I looked around I saw a whoosh of purplish chakra spreading out and exploding around us. Sasuke stiffened, and then raised his head. We looked at each other for a moment, both of us confused as to what was happened, and then I pushed him up off me as he pulled himself away from me. Just as quickly as it formed, it vanished. What was? I trailed off. Sasuke was looking at his right hand, which had healed ever since that fight in the arena, but strangely it was pulsating with white sparks. I felt an weird warmth in my own left hand, and saw that it was also sparking. Then as I watched, one spark lengthened, reached out, and connected to Sasuke's sparks briefly before dying down. This is getting out of hand. Sasuke looked up at me at the same time I raised my eyes to him. So, now, whenever I get hurt, can you feel it? Sasuke asked me. I instinctively touched the hand where my fingers had almost been severed and nodded, holding my other arm out to him. During that fight, you electrocuted your own arm during that technique, didn't you? I asked him. I could feel it. It hurt pretty bad. He nodded. And you call me reckless? Shut up. I thought I'd get everyone in the attack so it wouldn't matter whether I was damaged or not in the process. He frowned. Quote. That's why I have to perfect a technique that can run my Chidori throughout my full body. Somehow. Like a full body Chidori. He blinked. What are you talking about? He asked. You were just talking about. I stopped myself. No, wait. His lips didn't move just now. We stared at each other. For a long time, just in complete silence. Okay, I'll be the one to say it. I mean, are we? Are we reading each other's minds? He didn't even hesitate. That's impossible, he said. This is real life. But I heard you say that. I exclaimed. I heard you say, perfect a technique, and everything. My mind started reeling. Actually, this has happened a lot lately, hasn't it? It's impossible for, well, Sasuke, we're doing it so it has to be possible. Now that I think about it, during that entire conversation we had before Sasuke's match at the arena, his lips weren't moving. But somehow, I didn't think anything of it. Then, do it right now. He said. Read my mind. I stared at him, suddenly at a loss. I don't know how I'm doing it. I replied. It just happens. I didn't ask for an explanation. I said do it. I sighed, staring back at him but hearing nothing. This jerk. He knows it's not as simple as it looks. His eyes left mine, gaze drifting to the left. He's just trying to make me look stupid. Quote. It wouldn't be possible to make you look dumber than you already do. He replied, gaze shooting back at me. My heart skipped a beat. Wait, really? I asked, getting excited. Did you just do it? He frowned, moving his shirt and touching his curse mark. What the hell did you do to us, Naruto? I scratched my head. I told you already, I don't remember doing anything. And that's the truth. Of course, I exclaimed. Why would I want to feel your injuries or dream about you or hear your thoughts? He was silent for a second, then he smirked softly. Quote. Maybe because you're just that obsessed with me. My face exploded into discontent. I'm not obsessed with you. I shouted. Wouldn't that work for you anyway? Crying all over me. His cheeks reddened deeply and he balled his fists. Say something like that again, and I'll murder you. I didn't say anything. I put my hands to my head. Then stop reading my mind. He shouted at me. I thought we already said that we can't help it. I retorted. He sighed, opting to say nothing. I kicked my feet up, plopping back down into the bed. I'm serious about helping you, Sasuke. I found myself saying. I stared up at the dark ceiling. You don't have to do everything alone. I don't need you to feel pity for me. He mumbled, lying down next to me. I can take care of myself. I didn't say you can't, but. I turned to him. If you do what you're trying to, and you fight and kill and destroy everyone around you to get to Itachi, and win against him. When everything's over, who will you have to go home to? His face was solemn and his eyes closed as he responded. I already told you, I don't have a home. That was taken by that man. But you have to be interested in getting a new home. There's no way you aren't. Suddenly, something occurred to me. Hey, Sasuke, in one of the dreams I had, you were younger and, well, you were all upset about the villagers leaving gifts at your door because they only came because third Hokage sent them. What of it? He mumbled. You said then, at least there's one person who doesn't pretend to care about me. I reminded him. Quote. Who were you talking about? I'd tried to revisit that dream, because he said the name aloud to himself. I know he did, but my control over my dreams didn't work that well. Even if I wanted something painful, I was subject to seeing different painful things every time. More often than not, it was the moment where Sasuke pushed the door open to his parents' bedroom and found them both dead at Itachi's feet. Most likely, because that was the most painful memory he had. But I was only able to see that specific memory once. Sasuke's head turned to me slowly. His dark eyes shinned in the candle light. Shouldn't that be obvious to someone who can read my mind? I blinked at him, dully. But you're not thinking of the answer right now. I complained. He sighed, rolling over and saying nothing. I frowned, directing my eyes toward the candle light, considering mocking him with the fact that I knew he used to be afraid of the dark, when it suddenly came to me like a whisper. Inside my head, right as I was closing my own eyes to sleep, I heard it. Quote dot dot dot. It's you, Yujiratankachi. In those few seconds, right before I moved into unconsciousness, I found myself smiling. Hey, I knew it. Sasuke. Sasuke-kun. Someone was shaking me softly. Sasuke, wake up please. I opened my eyes slowly, not finding it difficult at all to retain the memory of the dream I had just been having. After I began actually wanting to remember, more and more stuck with me each time I woke. Sasuke, come on, we have to hurry. I raised my head, surprised to see that sometime during the night I'd fallen asleep with my head on Naruto's chest, and turned over. What? I asked. You're in danger, she reported. We have to tell Lord Orochimaru straight away. I sat up, looking at her directly. In danger of what? I can feel an enemy presence coming. Fast. That's right. This girl is of strategic importance. She darted over to the metallic door and began banging on it loudly. The sound startled Naruto. What's going on? He mumbled sleepily. But what kind of enemy presence could she be sensing? Is it Itachi or? Naruto shot up into a sitting position like a rocket. Itachi's coming, he asked. Shut up. He frowned at me. My gaze lifted to Karen, who continued banging on the iron door, trying to alert Kabuto, most likely. Can you hear me? He nodded, showing he had heard. In the worst scenario, they might move us. If we play our cards right, this is a perfect opportunity for you to get out of here. Quote dot dot dot. I already said I'm not leaving without you. I don't care what you said. If we both try to escape, we'll end up having to split up somewhere along the way anyway. It makes more sense for you to go and for me to stay. I'm the one they want anyway. Quote dot dot dot. Huh, what did all that? I sighed. Even though trying to read each other's minds wasn't necessarily chakra draining, it was tiring in the fact that we weren't very good at it yet. Firstly, we could only make it work with conscious thought. The kind of thought that a person can hear themselves thinking and can remember that they thought. But something unconscious or underlining, like involuntarily reading a sign or judging the kind of person someone was completely impossible for us to hear. It really put a thorn in my side because Naruto wasn't a very self-aware person, so the majority of his thoughts were involuntary and so, I couldn't catch them. Secondly, long phrases, like the one I'd just tried to do, could go in and out of focus like radio waves. Over the past week of trying to see what other powers we had contrived along with mind reading, we'd gotten better at hearing each other's paragraphs, but not well enough for it to work every time. And then, there was also the fact that we'd just become understandably conscious of each other's thoughts to the extent that we began playing around with it only a week ago. All sorts of communication mistakes happened on a regular basis. Quote dot dot dot. I'm staying with you. He thought again. No. Listen to me, you have to use Karen to get back to Konoha. But as the door creaked open and his attention turned to that, I knew he didn't hear my entire thought. Kabuto and Orochimaru both strode in with vaguely humorous expressions. Oh, damn, I thought Sasuke finally killed him. Kabuto said. I suppose it was a false alarm. Orochimaru replied, chuckling. Quote dot dot dot. These guys make me sick. I'm sensing enemies approaching, Lord Orochimaru. It's an urgent matter. Karen spoke up. Kabuto and Orochimaru turned to her quickly, all jokes gone from their faces. I watched her, not being able to deny the slight awe that I felt at how easily she commanded their attention. You may continue, Orochimaru told her. I believe there are 5 Anbu ninja patrolling the surrounding areas. One of which is dangerously close. Which direction? Orochimaru questioned. The south. Orochimaru and Kabuto exchanged glances. Lock up and let's move on. All of the experiments here are mostly failures anyway. Even if they discover a way to get in, it won't be harmful to us. As Naruto and I slid out of the bed, Kabuto turned around and dashed off down the hall. Karen, Orochimaru called. Take Sasuke and the other one to the north hideout and keep a careful eye out for anyone from the Leaf Village. Yes. He walked off, going after Kabuto, and only a second later we could hear chants coming toward the corridor signaling them performing some kind of jutsu over the hideout. Karen darted over to me, grabbing my arm and tugging me forward. Let's go. I followed after her and Naruto ducked after me, neither of us having enough time to put on shoes or our shirts. We ran into the corridor, making a right, then a left, and then another right. She stopped at a narrow gap in the wall and performed a couple of hand signs. Quickly, as soon as she finished, the gap burst open and the floor began to push us up, tossing all three of us out into a marshy patch of grass. Where to next? Sasuke asked. We need to get to higher elevation, so we can see clearly the direction they're coming from, she said, pausing to hike her shirt further up her thighs. I glanced over at Naruto to see his eyes lowering down her enormously exposed back and rolled my eyes. She's your cousin, he smirked. I heard distant cousin. In any case, we're going to head north, she said, pointing at a large gap in the forest that seemed to lead on an incline. Naruto shielded his eyes from the sun and looked up. Nice workout, he commented, already breaking out into a run. I darted after him and Karen followed closely behind. We ran next to each other, feet crunching on the leaves, grounding them into the soil like useless, secondary beings, in a simultaneous rhythm. We slowed down slightly, allowing Karen to pick up speed and run in front of us to direct us. The canopy of leaves above us protected us from the direct steam of sunlight, but through patches here and there, I enjoyed the warming on my face. I really missed being outside, Naruto exclaimed. That hideout place isn't in my nature at all. My eyes flicked up, settling on the girl with the hot pink, red hair. For Orochimaru to trust her with taking us both to an entirely new hideout. She must almost be on prison guard level. Just a little bit longer until we get to the top, then I'll be able to see clearly how we should go about getting to the northern hideout. She called down to us. Or maybe she was already on prison guard level. And we're just such important prisoners that she was literally assigned an in-room job. Quote. Told ya she was our babysitter. Naruto grinned at me. Stop invading my mind without permission. We ran up the rest of the way, and as the land began to stabilize and flatten out, Karen slowed into a jog, pausing on a high patch of land by a single tree. Her eyes flicked around quickly and she pointed. There. That's the enemy, she said. Then she turned to the opposite direction. If we keep going for 2 or 3 days, after we cross the mountains out there, it'll be easy to get to the northern hideout. 3 days? Naruto exclaimed. Well, it's the north hideout. We're at the south one. What do you expect, airhead? We're gonna have to walk like 1,000 miles. 500 to be exact. She corrected him. He groaned loudly, and turned back around, shielding his eyes against the sun. The enemy doesn't even look like they're that close. They're fast, Karen pointed out. I could sense them coming in from 15 miles off. And it feels like whoever it is pretty smart too. They moved in an irregular way, so it was really hard to track them. Karen, I said, turning to her. Why do you follow Orochimaru? She raised her eyebrows. Quote. What do you mean? I mean, you're clearly capable of making it on your own. I explained. Why depend upon him? He rescued me, she said simply. When everyone was dead, he was the one who came. The one who came. She fidgeted with her shirt. I waited for 3 weeks. She nodded, along with her words. I counted the days. But no one else came. She looked up at me. I mean, it's clear he doesn't have the best approach to life, but. She pointed at me. You're the same, aren't you? She brushed her bright hair out of her eyes. You want to stay because he came for you, too. Someone that came for me. I glanced at Naruto, but it seemed like he wasn't listening to us at all. He was holding onto the tree, gazing down at the intruder. That person. The one who comes for you. I began. It's important to discern whether or not that person is coming with true kind intent or if they're just bringing empty gifts and promises. She adjusted her purple-rimmed glasses. Empty gifts. Has Orochimaru ever cared for you specifically? I asked her. Has he ever asked you how it felt to be the last of your clan or tried to empathize with your feelings or even? I smiled, not believing what I was about to say. Or even given you a hug. She blinked, seeming utterly baffled. Quote. Can he even give hugs? She asked me. I looked off, past her toward where she said the North hideout was. I didn't come here for him. I told her. I didn't come here because he found me. I already had someone that found me. Someone like. I turned toward Naruto again. He was still standing there, clutching the branch, but this time my eyes went over his facial expression and I found I didn't like what I saw. What's wrong? I asked him, walking over. I followed his eyes, looking at our intruder, and our eyes widened. He came for us. Naruto said. A man with white hair was running quickly toward the hideout, jumping from branch to branch. Arrow Sennin, he said. I turned to Naruto, feeling another breeze come by and lift his blonde hair off of his forehead. I took in the appearance of his sunken cheeks, smudged with dirt and whatever else from how little they fed and maintained us, his bare chest, where his ribs had already begun to show, his palm, where, because of the daily experiments, the skin had begun to resist growing back. He turned to me, grasping my hand. Sasuke. He whispered to me. Everyone's probably at home in the village, waiting for us. He gripped it harder. Sakura-chan and Kakashi-sensei. I couldn't help but envision them in my head. Sakura with her long, flowing pink hair smiling widely at me and Kakashi with that book he always read and some lesson to teach us. Let's go home, Naruto whispered. But like lightning, the vision that struck in my head, shattering it, cracking it, causing discontent was. Quote. If you want to kill me, despise me, hate me, and live in an unsightly way. Run, and cling to life, and then someday, when you have the same eyes as I do, come before me. Don't think about that, Naruto said to me. I told you I'd help you. I told you that I'd. I shook my head, pulling my hand away from his. It's my job alone, I said. Naruto's eyes flicked back to that man. Jiraiya. Along with Orochimaru, he and the fifth Hokage all made up the legendary Sennin. Anytime I would look for happy memories that Naruto had, a good amount of them would be with him. Eating popsicles and hearing stories about how to lead your life and remove evil from the world, and I could tell it all meant so much to him. A guy having gone through 12 years of his life without so much as a pet to hold at night. He idolized that man like he was his father. And because of our meshing memories, my heart pulled toward him and I felt a strange connection to the man, also, but I devoted my life to killing that one man. I told Naruto. Nothing is going to stand in my way. He's getting close. Karen said. We should hurry. He's the one who came to save you, isn't he? I asked Naruto. Karen paused in her urgency and looked down at the man she called the intruder. He rescued Naruto. Karen repeated. You should go home. I continued. And stop worrying about me. There's nothing wrong with having a different path in life. Naruto smiled. And he turned back to me. As he did, the sun rained down on his bright blonde hair, causing the tips of it to almost sparkle. You're this close to me and you still don't get it? He asked. What are you talking about? Arrow Sennin didn't find me. He said, throwing his hands up behind his head. I found him. And I also found Sakura and Kakashi before they ever even noticed me. That's right, Naruto, you. Somehow I'd forgotten, even though the majority of memories I'd chosen to dream about from Naruto were happy ones because his painful ones were almost unbearable. But in those happy memories, in addition to that man, there were also dozens and dozens of memories of me. Even if the full memory was of an argument we'd had, or fighting against me in the academy, or even just walking past me sitting alone at the dock, they were all happy memories to him. I couldn't understand it until I didn't really need someone like you did. Someone that didn't pretend to care. I couldn't even find someone who did pretend to care, you know. Since everyone hated me and all. He looked down. All I really wanted was to feel like I belonged. And even though you didn't really do anything. He grinned up at me. You never treated me like I was any different from anyone else. While everyone else hated me because I was a demon or a monster or a freak, you hated me because I was annoying. It's just such a normal reason that He laughed. I really hated you and I really liked you at the same time. How stupid. So, I can't go home without you. Because, without you there, it's not home. Quote. And even more than that, everyone back in Konoha has each other. But you'd be here all alone. I refuse to leave you by yourself, Sasuke. I know what that's like and I'll never let it happen to anyone else. I blinked, surprised that I could actually hear that entire paragraph, but also even more surprised at what he said. Yujiro Tonkachi. I sighed. You're always making things difficult to suit your own desperation. But none of it matters. It doesn't change my path. Ero Sennin's a great ninja, too, you know. Naruto went on. Back then, Itachi and that weird shark guy even seemed afraid of him. I raised my eyebrows, recalling the moment that they clashed. After I was easily cut down by him. Who knows, Ero Sennin might even be able to help you more than this snake weirdo. I rolled my eyes, not wanting to listen, but for once, he was actually making sense. Without him and his key to the curse mark on me, there was no telling what Orochimaru would do. Keep me captive until they could take Naruto again. Find Naruto and try to kill him. The stupid tie he had created with his seal forced us to have to be together no matter what decision we made. Even though I'd rather continue to be separate from Konoha, because near the village they would impede my trek to kill Itachi, it had become incredibly dangerous to remain in Orochimaru's care. He reached out for me again, grabbing my arm and yanking hard. For the guy who's supposed to be the smart one, you're really stupid. He shouted. I'm not taking no for an answer, so just come on. Who said you had a choice? I exclaimed, stumbling as he pulled me back down the hill. I glanced up at Karen, standing there, looking down at us with a torn expression. I jerked away from Naruto. Wait, I said, going back up to her. She shook her head as I neared, putting her hands on her hips. No, she said. You didn't even hear what I had to say. You want me to come with you, right? The answer is no. Because you think Orochimaru cares about you. She stared at me for a long time and then crossed her arms. Even if he doesn't, this is where I belong now, so. Karen, I need you. Her eyebrows rose, she adjusted her glasses and stammered. Sasuke. What? I can't find Itachi alone. I clarified. She sighed exaggeratedly and shook her head. I took her actions for irritation and probed her further. If you want to go back to Orochimaru afterwards, then you can do so. I said. You know as well as I do, that would be suicide. She replied. Right now, you're basically asking me to sacrifice my life for you. I nodded seriously. At least she understands. So, will you do it? I asked. She sighed. Well, if you must beg. Good, I said, beckoning to her to follow me. But who is this guy we're going with anyway? She asked, trudging down the hill. Only the most awesome frog sage in the world. Naruto exclaimed, as we neared him. And also, he taught me basically everything I know. Oh, great, we're following a lunatic. Karen grumbled. That's what I'm saying. I mumbled. It didn't take long for us to scurry down the hill, and with Karen's pinpoint sensing skills, we advanced on him, coming from behind. He paused, cocking his head. He said. Is there a beautiful woman stalking me? He jumped up and whirled around. We stared at him. He stared back at us. Karen sighed. Is it too late to go back up the hill? She asked. Good question, I replied. Ero Sennin, Naruto exclaimed. Stop acting like that. Jiraiya straightened up and crossed his arms. Why don't you stop calling me that? But Naruto ran toward him eagerly, and Jiraiya's lips pulled into a wide grin as he pat his head. Long time no see, brat. Bakacha, Naruto said. But we have to hurry. We just escaped from Orochimaru's hideout and he knows you're coming. Without another second wasted, he bit his finger, pulled out a scroll and swiped it across the paper. Right in front of us, a large frog with an incredibly huge mouth, huge enough for us all to step inside, appeared. Come on, everyone. Go ahead inside. Awesome, Naruto exclaimed, running in immediately. It's a frog mouth, Karen mumbled, walking after him. It can only get so exciting. I sighed, glancing back at the place in the trees I remembered the hideout to be and then followed with Jiraiya right behind me. In seconds, the frog collapsed and shrunk, looking like an ordinary frog as it jumped onto a lily pad and then dove into the water.